Let's gather our sacred warhammers and fight. What up, viewers? What up? What up? Calc Soups here, and welcome to the Friend Zone, a monthly video game show where I discuss the latest video games with my friends. We've assembled our legions and fought many a battle in the penultimate Total War Warhammer 3. Today we'll be discussing what we were expecting, how we would describe it, as always. We'll talk about our previous experience with the Total War games. We'll talk about the tutorial, or lack thereof. We'll talk a little bit about the single-player campaign, but we mostly played through this in the co-op format. So we decided to wait till Mortal Empires was live to start to discuss it, because there's a lot to go over when you're dealing with the really big map that is Immortal Empires and all the different races and legendary lords. We'll talk about those and our favorites and least favorites. Then we'll talk about the strategy of the game. There's a lot of different avenues that we can go in via, economic or diplomacy or city building, provinces. And then we'll talk about the battling, the kind of like rock, paper, scissors of it all. And then, most of the time you're auto-resolving. We'll talk about difficulty, and then we'll finish it up with our final thoughts. But without further ado, let's hop in and meet the friends of the Friend Zone. Hello, John.
Hello, how's it going? Shoot, Casey, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Warzag just declared war on me again.
Oh my God.
I hate you.
And we got George.
Hello.
What up, friends of the Friend Zone?
Didn't even try.
Didn't even
I'm
try.
just- I'm
That's
responsible
very
for
George.
Warzag, so.
Yeah.
Well, good. As always with the Friend Zone, I like to talk about the first two simple questions of what were we expecting and how would we describe it. I know both of you have played the previous two titles, so there was a lot you kind of knew what you were getting into. This is the first one I have played, but very familiar with the Warhammer IP. The one thing that we were struggling with, I think me and George were at a magic table and we were trying to describe it. Would you consider the genre, because it's not 4X, so it's like, I think it's called Grand Strategy, but I forget what the genre name is for like the Total War games, which seem to be in their own little branch of the strategy RTS field, I guess.
Oh, I'm not a label person. I don't fucking know. Is it a MOBA? It's a MOBA. It's a MOBA.
I think-
Everything's a
I
MOBA.
think Grand Strategy probably makes the most sense because
Yeah.
because you have two completely separate parts of the game, right? There's
Yeah.
the campaign strategy piece, but there's also the battle strategy piece. So a
Correct.
4X game doesn't usually have that component of battle.
Yeah.
So
And it's not-
In
yeah.
fairness, the way we end up playing it is it's just Grand Strategy because we're auto-resolving 95% of the
Sure.
battles anyway.
Yeah,
but
we'll
as,
definitely talk
as a
about that.
genre, I would say
Yeah.
it's just it's a strategy game.
Yeah, and then the battles aren't really like RTS where you're like,
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like RTS is the closest thing,
but it's not quite that, because you kind of
yeah.
you start a battle with the army that you brought, and then you kind of fight through it. Although this harkens back to, like, I don't know if you guys ever played things like Lord of the Realm. There's a couple of like medieval strategy games back in like the late 90s that were definitely like move your army across the board, and then you and the army do a pitched battle and kind of fight each other with your different army comps. But I played those back in the day, but that have also been super
I was
niche.
playing actual Warhammer back then.
Yeah.
So sure. Yeah, well, let's talk about your guys' experience with Warhammer 1 and 2 and how it led up to 3.
So we're starting with the release of Total War 3? Like, should we even talk about the 6 months before Immortal Empires? Or
I think we'll mostly be talking about the Mortal Empires. Yeah, I mean, for everybody else, like, that was mainly the way that we interacted with the game. I think we did start a Chaos campaign, right?
Yeah,
and work through that.
yeah,
But
and got to the point where every campaign pre Immortal Empires ended, which was the Rift's open and this sucks now.
But yeah, I guess for the foundation, right? We started playing Total War, the first game, Total War Warhammer, and that game has its own campaign and had, I don't know, would have 6 or 8 factions in it right? It was limited.
Yeah, we barely played that. Too.
Exactly. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
very good, and so we
Yeah.
didn't play it much. And
Sure.
then, however many years later, Total War 2 came out, and like the Mortal Empires campaign for it released like a month after the game. And that brought together all of the original game factions, all of the DLCs they had, and all of the new stuff in Total War 2 to then provide a pretty robust experience, right? It was not every faction available, but a lot of stuff, and then they supported it for years with
Yeah.
additional content and DLCs.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact release dates, but like I always had Total War because I was like, oh, this is like I was super into like the marketing for Total War Warhammer 1. And I was like, I just kept putting it on my like Steam wish list. And then, they would add a race and I'd like talk about it with friends and stuff like that. And then like Total War Warhammer 2 came out and I was like, okay, well, shit, do I get like the first one? Do I get the second one?
Yeah.
And like I feel like it started in 2015 and just like it wasn't even if it was even that, and then they've just been like rapid firing them out since then.
Yeah, that was the problem I had because we started Total War and lost interest pretty quick. Like it was fine, but it just like
Holy crap!
if you weren't a Total War fan, like the only reason I was interested in Total War games at all was because of the Warhammer IP, which is something I am very passionate about. And we played that and we're like, okay, we lost our interest in it. And then it was like January of last year of 2021. Because I had been watching, I bought Total War 2 when it came out, and I still was just like, yeah, I don't like playing single player games that are the kind of that pace.
Sure.
Like I lose interest in them quickly. But then so I kind of let it slide, and George was like, hey, I'm getting really into this, and you can do like co-op campaigns. Maybe you should try it. And I looked at it, and I had the same reaction where I was like, oh my god, there's so many expansions. I don't know what to buy. I don't know how to handle this. I don't want to fall into that thing where I'm like, I can't play this because I don't have that thing that you've got, and blah blah blah. So then I was like, but I really want to play like a game just that I can like sink my teeth into a co-op campaign. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna spend $125 or whatever and buy all the expansions at once and just hope I get my money's worth out of it. And I would say we probably played almost every single Friday night of 2021 for 12 hours. Maybe not that long, but like we went on a tear from like into summer where it was every single Friday night I'd be staying up until the sun came up. And it was great because I had nothing else going on. It was, for like that was my video game thing during the pandemic effectively. And that just got me into it. And then we kind of played pretty much every combination we could imagine. And we're just like, all right, we're going to push pause until Total War 3 comes out. And then Total War 3 came out. And we can talk about that, I guess.
Just going back, release date for Warhammer was May 2016. Release for Warhammer 2 was September 17. So I'm very curious. Like it almost seems like, with only a year and a half that they didn't like recreate the game. They either were developing while they released the first one into the second one. Yeah. So and then 3 obviously came out May of this year.
That's actually one of the reasons I held off on 2 is
February.
Because I thought Total War 2 was a full like you didn't like if you own Total War 1, you got access to their Mortal Empires campaign with what you had. And I was like, I don't want to have to buy a whole new game of a game that I barely played. It seems like a waste.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, it wasn't really that. And so I played it a little bit. And then George, when George and I started playing, that's when I was just like, the only way to really sink my teeth into this is to just buy everything. And
vacuum up all of them.
I've probably the best return on investment video game wise out of just pure hours,
Sure. Okay, so fast forward to February of this year. We were all pretty excited about picking up Warhammer 3. Yeah, I mean, like we talked about a little bit before we started, like I play, you play through the the 5 minutes of campaign. I mean, it's more like 3 or 4 hours. And then,
Honestly, that was the most fun I had. Was that that starting campaign?
oh wow, okay. Well, then talk about your experience with the campaign, because I just felt like it kind of.
Well, I wouldn't really call it a campaign. It's a
No,
Sure.
it was yeah, it was just I mean it's not a campaign.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
I just
tutorial.
found it I just found it interesting and like the direction of the story was compelling enough for someone who cares about Warhammer lore at all.
Sure.
And it was just much more interesting. So like coming into Total War 3, expectation wise, I was very excited because ultimately I knew yeah, and I was going off the timeline of like 1 to 2 months because that's what Total War 2 was for Immortal Empires, and that would be huge because that would
Yeah.
have all the old combinations plus all the new chaos stuff.
Yeah.
But on its own, I had a hard time with Total War 3 because I didn't really care about chaos demons. I've never really been a chaos person in the Warhammer world, you know. So I've never been like, oh yeah, I can't wait to play goofy ass demons. I want to play like the Empire and High Elves and Wood Elves and stuff like that, and fight demons. That would be great to have them. But like the Cathayans looked interesting, Kislev looked great, and
Mm.
then everything else was just demons, you know. And it
Yeah.
was just like I was like, that spread is going to last me maybe two or three co-op campaigns of excitement,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna be pretty bored.
I mean,
So I
that was basically our experience, right? Like
yeah,
we
uh,
played 3 different Chaos Gods, or George played Undivided, and then
yeah,
you know, Slanesh and Korn, and then
yep,
we played before that we played Ogres and
and
Cathay,
Cathay,
and
right? Yeah.
yeah, and like
And that
that.
was like, but that was like the only combinations. Like, I wasn't gonna like. I really enjoyed Nakari. Like, I liked playing Slanesh. I played that in a
Sure.
couple campaigns, like two duos and trios.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any interest in playing Scarbrand. I didn't have any interest at all in playing Gugath. And I liked Kairos. Kairos, I played single player and
Yeah.
had pretty good fun with. But like, I wasn't gonna repeat them ever. You know, like whereas I'll go back. I've played. You know, there's a couple of Warhammer 2 lords that I've played on repeat a few
Sure.
times and been fine with, you know.
Yeah.
So like I knew I in my brain I was like, okay, we're going to have to find something to do combination wise for a few months until Mortal Empires comes out. But
Yep.
then we weren't ready for how bad the original Chaos campaign was. That
Oh
was
yeah.
deflating and awful. And then it was like a much longer wait. It was like 8 months, 7 months, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
And it's technically still a beta, although I think it's a pretty damn good beta.
Yeah.
Um, for Immortal Empires, and it was just like we stopped playing again, you know. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that sucks. I was looking forward to having something to like just
Yeah.
always have as my weekend gaming experience for video games.
Sure.
And I don't actively want to play this game. That sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go for it, George.
Yeah, I was just say like, I mean, Total War, the original, had its own small scale campaign for the races that were in it.
Yeah.
Total War 2, they're like, oh, we should have a Total War 2 experience that is, if you only own Total War 2. And then Mortal Empires then combines the content. So with
Yeah.
Total War 3, they obviously were like, well, we're going to have, Kislev and Cathay, so they're up near the Chaos Wastes. We can have Chaos, fight them, and make our own campaign around
Yeah.
it. It'll be great. And it was terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's like anybody on Reddit or anywhere that would defend the decisions they made for that campaign. It was awful.
Well,
And you
okay.
could see it in all the numbers until they released Immortal Empires, which is what everybody was actually waiting for.
Yeah. So let me dig deeper on that, because I mean, obviously I went in, that was my only experience of what a campaign was.
Yep.
Like, it was a different way to play. It was just not fun. Like, so
Yeah.
like what is a normal campaign? Like, this is definitely a juxtaposition between what I assume a Warhammer 2 normal campaign is, where it's just map painting, as opposed to
Yeah.
a new unique system for which you can win the game.
But that's the weirdest thing about it. That was the thing that I found most frustrating. about the chaos. What is the campaign even called? The Eye of Chaos or not Eye of Chaos?
Realm of Chaos. I think.
Realm of
of
Chaos.
Chaos.
Realm of Chaos.
The Realm of Chaos campaign is okay. So for co-op, specific to co-op,
Yeah.
in Total War 2, you're literally it's just a land grab. That's
Yeah.
all you're doing. It's sandboxy. Like you can make your own goals. Like, oh, okay, we're gonna play these guys, and our goal is to do this. But 9 times out of 10, we would just be playing to hit that magic number that ends the game.
Yeah.
Which when you back off from it, you're like, that sounds awful. Like, how could you possibly do that? 12 hours a week every Friday. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't sound worth it. But it's not that, because there's so many intricacies, in that 12-hour span that are happening, especially when the campaign is challenging, that are really fun. And you do get some rewarding, on-field battles, and you do some cool things in
Yeah.
the campaign mode, and it's fun. But coming into Total War 3, it was like, oh, cool, there's going to be a co-op, campaign that isn't just the land grab.
Yeah.
So where Warhammer 2 had the Vortex campaign, but it was actually, I guess you could play that multiplayer.
Yeah, you could play it.
You?
You could.
Yeah, we never did.
So what
because
is so what's Vortex?
The Total War 2's Vortex campaign is the equivalent of Realms of Chaos for Total War 3.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the goal of it is each of the primary factions was trying to, interact with the vortex in the center of Ulthuan to win the game. And so it was usually like, I think there were 5 tiers, and you had to capture certain buildings, at different settlements, and you would generate like scrolls, or I think the Skaven were looking for warpstone or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you got enough of it, there would be an event that would then take you to the next tier. And if you got to the 5th tier, you'd have this big, capstone battle to seal the vortex or use the vortex if you're a different race.
And
But-
it should be noted that campaign was also very poorly received originally by the community when it came when Total War hit. But like, we never wanted to play that multiplayer because it was a smaller map.
Right.
It was limiting, and like there was no cohesion for co-op. Like if George and I wanted to play against each other, which has just never been our style, then it would be probably a superior campaign to do than just
because it was a race kind of thing.
Yeah, there's like actively things that you can do to like try to win. Whereas like if the 3 of us played Immortal Empires against each other, I mean, we might never even interact unless we picked lords.
Yeah.
Like that could be fun to do at some point. It would be worth trying to do at some time, especially once you get bored of combinations and stuff. But like the Vortex campaign was never appealing to try, but who cares? Like we had another option.
So I would say, Vortex would have been okay, if Mortal Empires hadn't come out yet. But Mortal Empires came out like a month after Vortex, so you didn't have to wait for it really.
Yeah.
But the Vortex campaign, it didn't hinder you from playing the way you kind of wanted to play, because you just sort of naturally gained the resource that you needed to do the campaign.
Yeah.
When you look at Total War 3's Realms of Chaos campaign, there are a lot of issues with it.
Yeah.
Right? there were fewer overall races in the game because they basically treated each of the 4 Chaos Lords as completely different factions, and they do have their own mechanics, but they're all chaos.
Yeah.
Right.
If we needed to break it down real quick, the Chaos campaign in Total War 3 is just and anyone you're playing in that campaign, because it's a limited selection of people is involved in this at I think, what is it, like turn 25 or whatever, a bunch of rifts open.
Yeah.
And then you have to send an army. It has to be your legendary lord. Yep. Your legendary lord has to jump through the rift, taking an army with them, into a one of the 4 realms of chaos.
Yep.
They each have a quote unquote unique function to them, but they were basically dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And you have to go through that. I think at minimum you could get through in like 4 turns on like the corn one. Maybe.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Some of them get through 10.
And then and you had to get all 4 of them to unlock the final battle to go fight Bellicor, and then go do that. And then all of the AI would be doing that too. So you can only ever be competing in one realm.
At a
So
time.
you have to do a lot of mental math to figure out what realm to jump into to block the other legendary lords who have succeeded at other realms
Yeah.
as the campaign gets longer, which is actually kind of the fun part of it.
Yes.
I like having to strategize how to avoid losing was more fun than trying to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. So
Well,
the Realm of Chaos campaign is designed around the Rift system. There are plenty of issues with that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
component.
it.
Plenty of
Totally
issues.
forgot about it.
I mean, singular issue is only the legendary lords participate in that. So all of the other factions on the map, while you are in the rift, can just freely attack your settlements because you, at least early
you're
in the
an army
game,
down. Yeah.
early in the game, you don't have another army, so you're just defenseless while you're in the zone, which is terrible.
Yep.
Because the only thing you have to worry about to win the game is getting the completing the realms of
pieces.
chaos
Yeah.
when the rifts open in your own zones. The game actually rewards you for turtling up and just having a small but very high level settlement. You don't have to expand, and a huge part of playing Immortal Empires is the expansion, right?
Yeah.
Is painting the map and
Economy.
going everywhere and taking on all these different factions. And
Yeah.
Realms of Chaos actively made it like bad to do that, because if you have more territory, you'd have more rifts open every 25 turns, and they'd spawn armies against you, and you just can't defend yourself.
Yeah, so the way, especially like late game, when if you're like had an expansive empire, the way you'd have to play the game effectively is to just have a bunch of heroes that are their only job is to sit where a rift is going to open, and then they can just go over and pay money to close it.
Yeah.
And so like that's like what Legend of Total War, big YouTuber, whatever, fucking hated it. Everyone hated the campaign, but like he was like actively like over the top about it. But like that was the solution. It was just buy a bunch of heroes, pay for them to sit there around the turns that that they're going to need to be there, close all the rifts, call it a day. And like if that is the best option for enjoying your campaign, you're in a bad spot. Like finding out how to turn off the campaign. There's no surprise that the very first mod that came out for Total War 3 was turn off the rifts.
Yeah.
Like literally the first mod that anyone finished was how to turn off rifts.
Yeah. Okay. So we all agree that 6 months, the 6 months between launch and Immortal Empires beta was pretty bad. I would still like to
I will say this about the Realms of Chaos. The only time I have fired up Realms of Chaos since then was when I accidentally clicked on it to start a campaign, and we got into it before we realized when thought we were playing Immortal Empires.
Nice. Great. Well, then then Immortal Empires comes out. Like you said, everyone was just kind of waiting for that. And yeah, explain a bit about what Immortal Empires is. I assume similar to 2, but now vastly expansive.
Yeah, I mean, Immortal Empires in Total War 2 was just the full map at the time. It had every single legendary lord and faction that was in Total War 1 and Total War 2 combined.
Yep.
You could play, any factions, in co-op or, in opposition that you wanted to play. And the goals in that game, in Total War 2, the goals were a little limited. Like you could play together with any lords, but your mission was really just to control a certain amount of territory. Period.
Yeah.
So each campaign, though you're playing completely different factions, felt a little bit. It's a little samey because all you're doing is just doing land grab. Immortal Empires then takes that principle, right? It's a bigger map because it has more, like it has the East with Cathay and everything.
Yep.
It has every faction again.
Map. Yeah.
They have rebalanced a bunch of stuff, added some new features, which is great. But the campaigns themselves now also have different goals. So you have multiplayer campaign victory conditions. You have short campaigns, long campaigns, domination campaigns. So each one of them for each faction, it's you're still doing land grab, but you have to grab certain provinces. You have to control a certain amount of land area through either allying people or just straight dominating the territory. And it just provides for different play styles for each faction.
Yep.
You can decide how long your game should be, like if you just want to do short and be done, or if you want to actually try to go all the way to domination.
Yep.
So it's the full experience, right? You can play any combinations of characters you want, massive amount of territory, huge number of options. It's really what everybody wanted the game to be. It just took them, whatever it was, 7 months after they launched Total War 3 to actually get to it.
I'm moving the topic of favorite lords and favorite legendary lords again, because that kind of leads to like my first kind of question around like strategy. Well, is Immortal Empires the first time they added those like different win conditions?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a big step up.
Yeah, the win conditions are interesting because like no one wants to end the campaign on the short campaign victory.
Yeah.
But also like some of the long campaign victories are just so out of reach for how you play. Like the perfect example was Volkmar in our trio campaign. Where I was like, it's like to get that I had to take over the Empire. And like ultimately we did make our way up there, but that was like what, a 200 turn campaign or something like that.
Yeah.
Like played it for a long, long time. I mean, it was a long campaign victory, I guess.
Yeah.
But like he starts nowhere near that. And like if I had been like, hey, wouldn't it be fun for us to like sail to Lustria next and go after that, then it's just like I'm just deleting my long victory, like, which is fine. Like it doesn't matter because there's so many other ways to win campaign, and also you can just play a campaign until you're like, this is stupid. We're ultimately all rich and auto resolving everything. There's no point.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever you want to do with the campaign is fine. It's nicer to have those than not. I do think they could probably make them more interesting on a custom basis for each of the lords, but like maybe that's a thing with time, or maybe that's asking too much.
So is Realms of Chaos, like, is the Realms of Chaos victory condition of like go into the rifts and fight, is that built into the Immortal Empires? I haven't played Chaos.
No, it's not. It's not part of it at all.
Okay.
So that's actually an interesting thing to bring up, even though we'll talk about legendary lords and stuff later. But the other really cool thing they did with Immortal Empires, because they had to save their game and they knew it.
Yeah.
But was the Warriors of Chaos release where they did, what is it, four brand new legendary lords and an overhaul to how chaos works in general. Came out at the same time as Immortal Empires, which was huge because you just had 7 months of people getting really bored of your game with a limited supply of characters, and now you've made a really nice map. They did a really good job on the overworld map. Like both detail wise, size wise, and everything. But how are you really going to convince the naysayers that it's really any different than Total War 2? It's a bigger map and there's 8 new lords, but Total War 3 wasn't really worth it. If I really cared about, big sandbox and I didn't want to spend the money, I just keep playing Total War 2. So putting out, what is it, like 4 more lords, bringing the chaos numbers skyrocketing
way up.
Yeah.
Like almost 2 up, but whatever, the more lords the merrier. Especially with the map that they now have to work with, was a huge buy-in for people. Like I can't imagine anyone, I mean, I'm sure people did, but like I can't imagine anyone coming to play Immortal Empires and not immediately wanting to play one of those Chaos Lords and buying that expansion as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's just, it's funny because again, I really enjoyed playing Nakari. And Nakari's got a very interesting spot in Immortal Empires on Ulthuan, which sounds punishingly fun. Like in like the challenging kind of way.
Yeah.
Haven't even touched Nakari since, because I spent, 3 months playing a shitty campaign. Sorry, I keep swearing. A terrible
No,
campaign.
I was lying about family stream. So
Oh, okay, good, because that doesn't even count as a swear to me anymore. Um, but yeah, just playing a terrible campaign with Nakari and being like, I want to enjoy this, but now I've got this bad taste in my mouth. But Azazel's got an interesting start, even though he's in the worst possible start from previous Total War 3. So it's just like
yeah,
more interesting things to try with all of the mortal um, chaos people, which is interesting that they came out alongside Immortal Empires. But
yeah,
yeah, their campaign is not the Realm of Chaos stuff. That is
okay,
completely gone. The only rifts that exist in Immortal Empires are from Be'lakor,
okay,
who has some there's one in like the Antarctica place in our
yeah,
Lizardman campaign, and so not that the AI seems to use them, but Be'lakor has the means to use those portals to
Riz.
send armies out. I haven't played him,
Yeah.
but I assume that's the value to them, and they're static. You can't get rid of them.
Cool. So I want to talk about. I mean, we'll start at general strategy and like work your way down. But like I mean, there's probably more features of the main strategy, like the overworld strategy of like we already talked a little bit about objectives, which do or don't change for a singular race between campaigns. Are they
Between
randomized?
legendary lords, you mean?
Yes. Yeah. Like
Yeah, they change. Yeah, they do change.
so. If I
They're probably very similar though.
okay.
I guess I
So
haven't looked at them in detail, but like Carl Franz's is probably different from Volkmar's because
no, but what I'm
Volkmar's.
saying is like if I start up one Carl Franz campaign and then later redo a Carl Franz campaign, will my
Oh no, that's
objectives in
always the
those
same.
Always the
they'll
same.
always be okay,
Always
they
the
will
same.
be
Yeah,
always
those
the
are
same.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, no, I mean yeah.
Start position and victory conditions for the legendary lords are always the same.
Okay.
What changes is obviously because there are so many factions in the game. Different ones will come to power in different games, and so
Yeah.
it shifts. Which directions you're going to have to push out of your empire to attack, and
Yeah.
obviously alliances form differently, and so on.
So that
I haven't looked into it, but I've got to believe, and if there isn't, there will be, and there should be, that would be an excellent place for the modding community to change
Yeah,
win conditions and stuff.
yeah.
there are mods for different start locations as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that one I don't care as much about, but like having like really challenging, interesting like win conditions, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to take like Franz and take over Cathay or something like that would
Yeah.
be fun.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it just to like change
How
it
do I
up,
figure that out?
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's and I think we keep getting ahead of ourselves here. But
Sorry.
no, you're good. I think I like the way that this is going. But like is a campaign more than just trying to figure out the optimal way to execute those objectives?
Yeah,
I think so.
for
Yeah,
sure. For
I think
sure.
so.
I
Okay.
mean like a good example would be the campaign that what was our first campaign in Immortal Empires where you got your
Bretonnia.
long objective,
It was
George.
Rapunce,
Yeah. Rapunzel
Volkmar, and Thoric
dwarves.
Ironbrow.
Yeah.
No, just
No?
the duo that we did, where you got
Oh.
the long
Oh,
campaign victory and we decided to end it. No, I was like nowhere near mine, but
yeah,
it
you were
didn't
playing.
matter.
Yeah, you were playing
Realms?
Ikit Claw, and I was
Oh
playing
yeah, I was sick. Yeah,
Morgar.
yeah. So I as Ikit, I was just unstoppable,
David.
like
Yeah,
just unstoppably powerful. Like I had I couldn't have enough armies to go bankrupt on, but
Yeah.
I was nowhere near because like part of Ikit's thing is he has to take over all the Skaven factions,
Ah.
which are very uniformly
very
spread out on
spread
the
out.
map. And like
Yeah.
I wasn't even available to do diplomacy with half of them. So I was just like, I don't even care. I'm just going to just take over the world while George does his.
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
did not matter at all. George got
Hmm.
his long campaign and was like, "Do you want to try and get yours?" I was like, "No. Like, why do I need to auto resolve myself over to Lustria to get whatever lord is down
Ooh,
there
yeah.
to my side? There's just no point."
Mm.
Like like, so you definitely, I mean, some people might feel differently. Like,
Yeah.
some people might be like, no, we can't end the campaign until everyone gets their long campaign. I don't think we've ever done a multiplayer domination win yet, but like,
No, because
all that
domination
is, yeah,
so long. It's
it's
so long.
just
Yeah.
take over like 90% of the map, which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
tedious.
Yes. Well, that's
Well,
what. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to control 272 locations. I think there's 500 or something, 540 or something. It's literally 50% of the entire world map has to be controlled by you and your faction.
And like
Which is just,
when
it's a
you
lot.
get to the point where you can be that far widespread, like you have like 7, 8 armies,
Yeah.
no army is contesting you.
Yes,
You know, the
you're
hardest
so
thing,
powerful at that point.
the hardest thing about that challenge is not getting back-ended and losing territory, because that always happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think the long campaigns is kind of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's enough to keep you occupied for a long time,
Yeah.
but it's not just punishingly long. I think that's fair.
Yeah. So let's talk about each of the pieces of like the general strategy of the game.
Yep.
So and I have a very simple grasp on each of these, but like so I think what the driving force often for anything that you're doing in the campaign is just to try and make your economy as efficient as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Generally, yes.
And so that drives like you're expanding, which is weird that like you can be successful in the realms of chaos with only one territory, because I would think that your economy couldn't support
Well, yeah. So it
that.
comes down to, obviously, the game is set up where your settlements can grow in size.
Yeah.
I mean, there's limits, but obviously your capital city gets bigger, earns more money, etc.
Yeah.
So you can have a strategy where you don't expand very much, but you are
Yeah.
building up the power of your single like province to be as efficient as possible, and it'll support
Yeah.
an army.
Okay. Yeah.
The challenges are then when you start to expand outward, you need more armies to cover the territory and protect it,
Yes.
but you have to make sure that the money you're earning from each of those expanded territories is actually enough to buy that second army or that third army.
Yeah.
So economy becomes incredibly important for the campaign,
Yeah.
but it's not the only consideration, right? I mean, diplomacy is still important to deal with.
Sure.
Otherwise, you end up at war with literally everybody.
Yep.
And deciding on like what direction to actually push in
Yeah.
matters.
Yep.
Because the game will try and drive you towards certain enemies through quests that
Objectives,
are issued
yeah.
or whatever.
Yep.
But like if you just go and do what the game says, you'll end up at war with everybody.
Yeah.
So you do have to actually pay attention to like, oh, I shouldn't go declare war on this faction because a quest spawned.
Yeah.
When I'm still at war with these two other factions that
Yeah.
are going to keep harassing me from the opposite map direction.
Yep.
I would add in too that, like, kind of specific to the way we play the game, the army makeups don't matter all as much as all of the other stuff that George just said. So like,
Yeah.
you always want to build the cooler, more expensive, nice units, but like ultimately, if you have a legendary lord with a 20 stack of, you know,
Rank
starter
9.
or one
Yeah.
tier up high level things, and
Yeah.
then you just give him a second army following him around, you're going to auto resolve win almost anything unless you're outnumbered.
Yeah.
So like that's not always the case. Like, we don't play on legendary difficulty,
Sure.
which changes things. We'll talk about difficulty later because there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah.
But like, for the way we have played the game, I only do it because I still think of this as Warhammer. So I want to have like a fun, cool army
Yeah.
that has like a gun line with artillery and then knights to flank with,
Yeah.
and blocks and stuff. But like, you don't need to really, as long as you have enough money to support having 3-4 armies, you're gonna
Yeah.
get everything done that you need to get done anyway.
Yeah.
Again,
In
at
fact,
least
that
on the
is-
difficulty we play on, and at least with the level of auto resolving we have, because like, we don't even care. Like, it's like, oh, I'm gonna lose 3 units of level 1 soldiers.
Right.
on this auto resolve. I'll just recruit them next turn. Who cares?
Yeah.
Well,
You know?
yeah, I mean, you are
Other
literally
than the level
describing
ups.
you're literally describing the Skaven playstyle, right? Because they
Yeah.
Yeah,
generally spawn huge 20 stacks of Skaven slaves.
Yeah.
And like they're terrible armies, but if you can just overwhelm a person with a good army plus just an extra 20 stack of trash, like, it's a
And-
viable strategy.
And going back to the Ikit campaign, that was one of the things we ran into where I never fought a battle because
Correct.
I would have all these like Pyrrhic victories, and we'd be like, "Oh, it's a Pyrrhic victory. We should be able to do much better than that."
Hmm.
But it's Skaven, and I don't really care. I can replace all these guys in one turn. Do I really want to risk us screwing up and losing this because Skaven break and we're not very good? We're decidedly not as good at the battle system as we are the campaign system. So are we just like it was never worth the risk to like lose momentum having an army fall apart because of mismanagement on the battlefield.
I actually, yeah, of the campaigns we're playing, me and George are playing Elman and I forget who you're playing.
Heinrich.
Oh, and
Heinrich and Festus.
Heinrich.
That sounds like
Okay.
such a fun combo.
It is actually
I
really
thought
good.
of that. Yeah.
So, and like, it's the same kind of thing where like I don't care. Like if I'm gonna go into a fight, I'm gonna lose, 2 ghoul units and all of the zombies. I'm like, I don't care. I'll just spawn them with freaking winds of death or whatever the next turn.
Yeah.
And so like I've had a really positive experience with that, as opposed to like, Reponse where like I'm an 18 stack of knights. I lose a knight unit. It takes me freaking 12 turns to like get that knight unit back. But like, yeah. So I've kind of liked that. And there's a bunch. I assume there's a bunch of different strategies for like. Sometimes you do care, sometimes you don't care. But like,
Yep.
like the lizard men, yeah. In the lizard men,
any army that
yeah.
can. I'm sorry. Any army that can global recruit something in a turn just can like you never have to think about losing troops because you can be like, doesn't matter where I am, I just got to get through one turn and I can global recruit a bunch of trash. But whatever, I have my 20 stack again. Whereas like sometimes it's like, oh god, yeah, I lost 3 units of knights and that's 4 turns per unit to get them back if I'm not in my homeland.
Which you usually aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like that's what I actually saw, that like the full I kind of saw the opposite of that, where like I don't remember where it was in the lizard folk, but when Malakir I think attacked, like he had like 30 units attacking my 20 stack, but like all of my 20 stack was like rank 7 or up, and it was like, okay, now I see where unit experience matters. I mean, also there's Saurus and not a bunch of inks or something.
Every rank on a unit is like there's probably 3 or 4 stats that they have that will actually improve.
Yeah.
It's like health, melee attack, melee defense, leadership, maybe.
Yeah.
And each rank will give them 1 or 2 points in it, which isn't a lot. But
9,
if you're level 9 and you basically got an extra 20 points or something of a stat over a basic unit of the same type, like you will demolish them. Plus, your legendary lords, or I guess lords in general, right, can get some skills as they level up to buff those units, specifically if they're rank 7 or higher. And so you can actually create some very, very strong armies. And yeah, if you then have a bad auto resolve that kills some of those units, it is quite a loss to try to get that back.
Yeah, so legendary like stats and legendary lord building, like I am so in the dark on some of that stuff, because I don't know if it's just this is our first time playing it, and I'm still like learning some of this stuff, but like holy crap, like even the difference between like melee attack and like attack damage or whatever,
it's so easy to autopilot some of that stuff, especially the biggest one is not paying attention to the buffs, like the unit buffs that your lord creates.
Yes.
The amount of times I don't even think about that. And like sometimes you don't have to, because again, if you have like Grimgore. Like, who cares what he's buffing his army to do? He can win the fight on his own if you just make him a melee god.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think
Uh,
it's designed so that each legendary lord lets you focus sort of into a different play style for that race. So, like with lizard men, right? There are skink lords, there's saurus lords, there's a croxagore lord, the slan mage. So like each one of them is, it's supposed to drive you in the direction of, hey, you should try playing with skinks, or you should try
yeah.
playing with saurus. And then, you can obviously mix and match and do whatever you want. It's just designed to give you different play styles.
Yeah, I think
Volk.
that's kind of been one of my frustrations though too. Is like Hellman, it buffs like his innate lord ability is like buffing zombies, and Rapunzel's was like buffing peasants, but like not ultimately neither of those like really help me because if I'm running a 20 stack of zombies or a 20 stack of peasants, I'm gonna lose the fight regardless of how
Yeah.
much Rapunzel or Hellman improve those units, which is
Well,
a
so
little frustrating.
it's actually interesting though. In that same campaign, Volkmar really opened my eyes because I kind of suffer from the same thing where I'm like, doesn't really matter what their buffs are. I'm gonna buy the units that they say, but I'm not gonna really pay attention to it. But Volkmar kind of opened my eyes a little bit because his thing is he buffs flagellants, which
Uh-huh.
are almost entirely worthless in any other capacity in
Uh-huh.
Total War. So the only thing is they're unbreakable. So you can send them into a unit and they're just there until they're all dead, but they don't have any armor, so they're all dead pretty quickly. So I would very rarely take them, other than to like maybe like shield a gun line or something, just in case something got flanked. You can throw it in there and know you've got enough of a speed bump. Volkmar made them actively able to win fights. Like
Yeah.
as I leveled him up and like looked down his chain and stuff, like I suddenly had unbreakable meleeers that I could charge confidently into other infantry and be like, I'm gonna win this fight. I don't
Yeah.
need to like flank around with knights or anything. They're gonna hit them and they're not gonna take any damage because of their damage resistance, and they're gonna win this fight for me so that all my flankers can go win other fights for me instead. It was
Yeah.
great. It was a lot of fun leveraging that, and it took me a long time to really kind of pay attention to that and do that. But like, yeah, the more time you're willing to spend in the character screen,
Yeah.
uh, the better off. Like the better off your experience with your army, like the value of your army will be. It just
Yeah.
takes a lot of
Micromanaging.
menus the game, which is George's specialty.
Love it.
Yeah.
I would say though, like your knowledge of the game, like you have to have some reps in the game, different
Yes.
actions,
Yes.
different
Yeah.
experience to understand what things do. There's also, I mean, obviously you can go in very analytically min-maxing and
Yep.
Oh,
do
sure.
the math on certain things and be like, well, that's not really worth it. Or you can just build the character the way you want to and just see what happens, right?
Yeah, I
I
assume
think
Gorok can be a beat stick, but I've built him to be as tanky as possible. So
Right. But
well, it's
there's
funny
also,
in the Lizard Man campaign is another great example of what George is saying, because like I haven't played a lot of Lizard Men, George has, but I was very slow early on with Oxyauto because my Bastillodons got under half health, and I was like, I can't auto resolve, I'm gonna lose them. But then I was like, nah, I gotta push this. I gotta stay on top of things because I'm kind of grinding to a halt here. And then I realized that they have so many hit points, Saurus too, that
yeah,
like it's a totally different thing. Like any Empire unit that had that bar of hit points would just be wiped out on an auto resolve, and they
yeah,
would lose like a tiny sliver of it, and you'd be like, oh. Right, I'm playing a completely different army with completely different values, and their big
yeah,
value is they don't die.
yeah,
yeah. It's things like, when you're leveling up a lord and you look at something like charge bonus.
yeah.
Charge bonus matters for certain types of troops, but
Sure.
other troops it makes no difference at all. So taking it is a waste of your skill points at the time.
Yeah,
Like you'll unlock all the skills anyway, but it just takes like game knowledge. But at the end of the day, if you want to cycle charge your lord into and out of battles, go ahead and take charge bonus. Who cares,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
it's always positive to take the skills.
yeah.
There
Well,
just
yeah,
are
and I
things
think
that
I
are
think
better at
I've
different times.
taken the time now to learn, like, okay, I'm gonna make this a caster hero versus a melee
Yeah.
beat stick
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
a.
yeah.
I just
Exactly.
I wish I wasn't punished for like like choosing a lord and going down the red tech tree to like buff a specific type of unit. Ultimately, I've never seen those come in handy.
So yeah, if you're gonna
I,
do that, you have to
don't
then
do it with
go.
peasants.
You kind of have to go with a doom stack, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You build an army that is all one flavor on
Yes.
purpose to
Yeah.
maximize the amount of bonus that you're getting for those things. And that can be fine. I just think it's less interesting.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think a big problem is, again, the Rapunzel campaign kind of poisoned you to that a little bit because
Sure.
you were trying to do it
A
peasants, which
peasant.
was
Yeah.
Yeah,
Peasant
I mean,
army.
it's like
not a
great
good
you
bonus.
made super peasants. They're still awful because
Yeah.
at least flagellants are unbreakable,
Yeah.
you know. So like they're
Yeah.
unbreakable and they're damage dealers. Whereas
Yeah.
the highlight of peasants are that they won't scare other peasants when they die. You know,
Yes.
like if
Yeah.
that's your starting point, you're not really building up a whole lot out of a
Yeah.
whole lot of value out of it.
Well, there's
Um,
also just play style as well. If you're going to go with
yeah,
peasants in a Bretonnian army, the real meat is the peasant bowmen actually do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
yeah.
So then you
You
have to
just need to make
you
sure
have
they
to
don't get
work
meleeed.
yeah, you have to work your knights to actually protect them while they're doing the heavy lifting because
Yeah.
that's how you build. And that's it's you're putting yourself in a harder position than you probably need to be.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean that it's not viable. It's
Yeah.
just maybe more challenging.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Totally. Let's talk a little bit more about like because now that we've talked about specking legendary lords, like the like regions and like province building and all that kind of stuff. Like I think it was finally like, and maybe I'm probably still doing it wrong, but like it wasn't until Gorok till that I realized like the smaller provinces or smaller regions are basically just economy farms, and then the big main region is where all your good buildings go. Your
Yeah.
recruitment
You're talking about the
buildings.
tier 5 city
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
sure. That's exactly how I generally handle it. I'll do my home city, my my level 5 city will
Yeah.
be where all my recruiting goes, and until I've expanded out. Once I've expanded out, I try and pick another level 5 city
Yeah.
to also do that so that I have, less global recruit requirements.
Okay.
But almost every other city that I do, especially, again, we'll talk about difficulty later, but especially in this version of Immortal Empires where I don't see any value in walls anymore. Um,
Mm.
all I do is max out my growth and my income buildings, and then I get rid of growth once I've got my tier 5 city. And then
Yep.
that'll either go into walls just so I
Oh,
don't have to think about it, or something else.
even like, oh, I don't need growth anymore. Destroy the growth building was like I didn't
Yeah,
figure that out
for
until
sure.
campaign 3, and so it was like, oh, okay, like maybe I do have growth to begin with, and then once I get it
Yeah.
up, it'll slowly
The
go up
growth
over time. Yeah.
the growth buildings can still be good because they also do casualty replenishment, which,
Yes.
depending on where you are, is
Yep.
incredibly valuable. Because one of the things I've noticed is I put a lot of emphasis on getting as much casualty replenishment as I
Yeah.
possibly can have. So my armies are usually good to go on one turn of rest, no matter how beat up they are. And I
Yeah.
remember in the Rapunzel campaign, you were like constantly struggling getting your armies healthy, and
Yeah.
we'd enter so many battles where you're like, you're half strength, and we'd
Yeah.
be like, why are we losing this? None of your guys have health. It's like, yeah, well, I couldn't just sit there forever. And I was like, that was the big difference. Is like, I will generally rush the blue line, not for lightning strike anymore, but for casualty replenishment, which is usually in that third tier. And then I'll do everything that I can to bone. Like, I'll always have a hero that does casualty replenishment.
Yeah.
It's just, to me, because if you have a 20 stack that can fight every turn or every other turn at worst,
Yeah.
it's better than having two armies that can only fight every 3 turns.
Yeah. The helmet ability where like, what is it, like 35% of the time, like
Yeah, you
even
get
if
a
the unit
dead unit
dies, you
back.
just get it back. I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
like all of a sudden that
Like-
matters. And like I don't know that I'm spec too much into it with Gorok, but I think maybe the Saurus just have built-in casualty replenishment rate because I haven't spec too much into that, but
Well,
I definitely understand what you mean.
so that's the thing with Saurus, though, is they have a ton of hit points.
Yeah.
So when you're auto resolving, they're losing so
Less.
little of it.
Yeah.
So that you like if you like auto resolved like 5 battles 5 turns in a row, they'd get scarily low under half health,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't need to heal anyway. That was the thing that I had to learn with Lizard Men
Yeah.
versus playing crunchier humans.
Yeah. Or
So-
you. Oh, go for it, George.
Yeah, I would just say, in terms of the campaign maps, buildings, etc., they have made an effort to adjust that challenge, because it used to be that every capital was a tier 5 settlement with, I think, 10 buildings.
Yeah.
Building slots, and then
Yep.
the minor settlements they have 4,
4.
and they only go up to tier 3, right? And so
Yep.
what you would just do is you would just look at, well, which of my buildings go higher than tier 3? Those need to go in the capital, and then all the other settlements just you build economic buildings, right? But that meant that every province, like, you already knew what you had to do. It was just a matter of doing it.
Yep.
In Total War 3, they started taking some of those capitals and only making them 8-slot settlements instead of 10. So now you actually have to decide, oh, I can't get all of the top tier buildings in one city. I have to then pick and choose, and I think that makes things better, especially because some of the settlements have unique buildings that you'll want that take up one of those slots.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's they've tried to add a little bit more strategic choice into Total War 3 than they did in Total War 2. Because Total War 2, like you said, you could just build every building in every province and it was fine.
Yeah, and I think that's part of that's. I mean, there's we were just talking about unit replenishment. Like, obviously, depending on who you're fighting, like control will be super important, or anti-corruption.
It should be important. There's definitely something wrong in Total War 3 right now, where control really doesn't matter very much. It's obviously you take penalties to different campaign stats if you have low control, but it used to be in Total War 2 that when you played on the higher difficulty settings, you would have to be very actively managing control, very intentionally, or you would have rebellions spawning all the time. In Total War 3, I don't think I have even had a single rebellion happen to me.
Not once.
Right? Not once.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think maybe
well, no,
it's,
that's not true. I've definitely had some. But...
I mean, I know that I'm aware of control, and so I keep control. But it is like literally not even a concern of mine that, I'm gonna have a rebellion. It is not even like been close to happening to me.
I don't know why that's different, because we're playing a harder difficulty than we used to.
Yeah, we're playing on very hard, like all the time.
More of a penalty there. I don't know what they changed that made it slower to accumulate or something, but yeah, I've had a couple of rebellions, because like if you're getting raided and stuff, or you get city sacked, like your public order goes down. Sometimes it just drops, and you're like, whatever. But like, who cares? Like,
or an event, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost never going to actually just like.
Yeah, it's
like,
not a concern.
Yeah, but like that, I mean, public order ruined campaigns for us in the past.
Yes.
Like straight up ended campaigns for us.
We tried to do very hard in Total War 2, and the amount of control that you had to exert, like you almost had to create a hero and just leave them in a zone with control bonuses in order to manage it. Like it was tough.
And like the amount of times I would have to just sit my Legendary Lord's 20 stack army in an area just to get it green enough that I could then leave the province at all.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And it's what's funny though is I, as the kind of, or masochistic player that I am, would prefer that suffering than what we've currently got. Again, I think there's a lot to talk about in the difficulty section, but I would want. I know if it came back like right now and like we played tonight, I'd be like, fuck me, this sucks. But I still like, it's like it's not even a function of the game right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Do you remember, was Total War 3 Chaos, Realms of Chaos like that too?
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't recall control being an issue.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I must be. I'm curious if I'm mismanaging something, because like,
to be fair though, John, one thing is I never actually use the loot and occupy option anymore.
No, yeah, I stopped doing that too.
And I think
Because I
that's a
did
big
learn
part
my
of it.
lesson. Yeah,
That's a
I
big
did
part of
learn
it.
my lesson. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you loot and occupy a city, you take a huge control penalty.
Yep.
And if you're moving quickly and taking a whole province and you keep doing it, you'll just force
Yeah.
a rebellion automatically.
Yeah.
If you just regular occupy, you have less money,
Yep.
but then you never run into a control problem. Like it's just not
Mm.
even a factor
Yeah.
of the challenge. And it's considering very hard. One of the parts of the challenge is it's supposed to make controlling your provinces harder. I'm surprised playing exclusively on very hard that we are not running into more problems with it.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think I do use loot and occupy, so maybe that's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stop
If you
doing.
need the money, just sack the city and then
Yeah.
take it.
Sack it
Yeah.
and take it on another turn.
Yep. Well,
But I
even
will say there's also, in terms of strategy, a big challenge of the game, and sometimes it's not fair, but the way the game handles movement is difficult.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Campaign
Especially
map
in illustrious
movement,
campaign.
yeah, trying to
Yeah.
put yourself in position to get an ambush off, trying to reach certain places in time, and then yeah, just finding like, oh, I can't move that far because there's, I don't know,
98%.
Yeah.
there's
It's
like a river, or I'm suddenly in a desert and like I move slower and I didn't know that, and like obviously the computer knows exactly how far it can move all the time.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is it feels like the game, like that's the closest to the game is cheating that you get,
Yes.
in this game, because like the computer will always go exactly the right distance to be away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hang on one second.
chasing down units can be incredibly difficult because they know how to move, and you're kind of just saying, well, I want to move here and it looks like I can make it this far, and then you can't.
Yeah. And
I guess
the other
I
one that sucks is like the flee direction. I
yeah,
wish it
yeah,
made you, like, it seems like it would be so easy to just be like, you've lost this battle, you have to flee a full movement away, but you get to pick the direction, right? You
sure.
can't go through an enemy range. So I can be like, okay, I'm going to obviously flee to that supporting army there and
Yeah.
not just run
It's
over to the coast and die.
the
you
same thing
know?
when you raise a city, you just move away from it, but it just
Yeah.
randomly sends you in a direction, and you're just like, oh, okay, I didn't want to go there,
Yeah.
and then you can't move
Like
again.
Or
I'd
flee
be
within
fine to be
range of that
forced to
city.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd be fine to be forced to move a full distance,
yeah.
but I should get to pick what distance that's gonna
But
be.
yeah, I mean, these are obviously very specific
Yeah.
issues with
Yeah, but I mean,
the way the
yeah,
game is set up.
losing an entire army to something you had no control over is obviously
Yes,
a frustration.
But that,
yes,
but there are
that's
also things that won't change, because like those are
correct,
all things
correct,
that people don't even really complain about, to my knowledge. But
correct.
like, they have always been a part of how Total War is kind of
Yeah,
functioned.
and that's part of learning the game, I think.
Yeah.
Right? You have to recognize
Yeah.
when the enemy can do things like, oh, like this army can't attack me this turn, but the army that's
Yeah.
just off the screen that I can't see that can march into range can do it.
Exactly. That's the big one, is
Right?
remembering, like, the game will fuck you on marching. So
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
if you march and you can see two enemies that you're at war with, you're probably gonna die.
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, I
And
mean that was another thing that I quickly learned was like
Yep. Yep.
only march when you can, make it to a city or
it's like
no, you don't
marching.
have anything to interact with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're marching in the center of your own territory just to get across it,
Yeah.
don't march when you're outside your own territory, because you're probably going to
Yeah.
march into range of somebody who's
Yeah.
ambushing, or
Yeah.
who's just in the fog of war, and then they'll charge you and you won't be able to retreat and you'll just die.
Although I will say, in Total War 2, when the game decided to attack you, it was you were going to lose. I
Yes.
mean, unless you
Yes.
could fight the battle and win it, but like, you were going to lose the auto resolve.
Yes.
Total War 3, the AI frequently attacks you
Yes.
and loses in the auto resolve, and it's really weird.
I think
Like,
that is a product of it being in beta. I think it doesn't
yeah,
know all of the math yet
yeah,
for all the
yeah,
new stuff, and so it's probably
yeah,
using some old calculations with some new stats, and you're just like, yeah,
yeah.
you lose this fight. Why would you attack?
Like, the computer, I would never complain about this as like the game cheating. The computer should never get auto resolve lost on on any battle it picks. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, well, maybe that's not true, but certainly any battle, like any city battle, right? Like, how many times have you just watched a 20 stack lose or like a 15 stack lose? Like the AI goes to auto resolve against a city and just lose it.
Well,
You know,
I guess
like,
I equate it to if you have a 20 stack and you attack a city that has, maybe half an army sitting in it,
yeah.
you don't actually know what the auto resolve is going to be until you attack it,
Yeah, but I have the
right?
power to back out of
Yes,
that fight if I
that's the
want to.
difference though, right? The computer, yeah, because the
Yeah.
computer doesn't
Yeah.
do that,
Yeah.
Right.
it shouldn't, it
Right.
shouldn't
But
initiate those fights, but it's the
but
equivalent
that's the
of
thing is the argument is the computer knows ahead of time, so it should just not do it. You
exactly, yeah.
know,
It,
Yeah.
it
like
doesn't
it's the
decline
same
the
thing.
attack,
Yeah.
yeah, when it is clearly going to lose.
Yeah.
But I think that is a product of probably the beta.
Yeah, I think so. Again, there's a lot to talk about in the difficulty.
I was gonna before we get to because we basically been talking about auto resolves and we can talk
Yeah.
about the strategy. The one thing that we still haven't talked about that I still kind of haven't learned yet is is hero slots in your armies and hero slots for for other reasons, be it map. Although I have enjoyed in most of my stuff since I've learned to do it is like making that assassin hero action
Yeah.
character or like all that kind of stuff. But like one to just like go run it, like one to go just like run around and like scout the map, and one to go do this, or one to go or one to sit next to a rift, or one to boost control in areas like I just always feel like I don't have enough heroes, mostly because I'm probably running 18 units, a lord, and a hero in it. And maybe I don't need that hero and just put another unit and just have a hero running around
I
doing what.
disagree with that.
Okay.
I like having a hero. I like having a hero in every army, just about. The
Yes.
only time I don't love having heroes in armies is if I have like a spell cast. Well, that's not true. If I have I don't like having two spellcasters in one army because
Agreed.
I'm
Oh,
not
sure.
good enough. I'm not good enough with the winds of magic to take advantage of that. There are people that can do it, like Vampire Count's armies frequently. Like good players will have like 4 fucking lords. All of them are vampires that can cast spells, and I do not understand how they do that. But I love having at least one. If I have a caster, then I love having a beat stick in there too,
Yeah.
or vice versa.
Correct.
And sometimes I'll even put 2 in. Well, again, like I said earlier, I love having. Usually, it's like a warrior priest or something that does casualty replenishment.
Yeah.
I love having that as just automatically added into my army. It's very, very useful.
Yeah, I would
Whereas
say
on the battlefield now, I usually only have one assassin. I only have one dude, unless I like really need to scout for some reason, but I almost never do. I only usually have one dude tooling around, just because I don't want to have to deal with that many guys on the board anymore.
yeah, I would say. I mean, one of the challenge is depending on the army, right? You can only recruit heroes if you have the right buildings built, right?
Yep.
Because each instance of the building is usually you have one slot for that hero type,
Yeah.
and then if you level it up, maybe you get a second slot. But a lot of times, if you're just trying to build economy, you're not building the buildings, and so you actually can't even recruit the heroes if you wanted to, or because you just don't have the access to the buildings.
Most of the heroes I use in my armies are those random free ones.
The random free ones from the event.
Yeah.
But like in some of my successful campaigns, if I know that I can't afford a second army yet, but I can get a hero, you can actually do a lot if you get some early heroes set up on the campaign map, and you could have one hero that's like assaulting units or assassinating heroes, and then another hero that can block the armies.
Yeah.
Because if you are just like hammering every kind of alternating turns where one guy deals damage to the army or kills their heroes off, and then the other guy's blocking their progress to move on the map, you can like harry them so hard that when they do want to attack your settlement, they'll actually lose against the garrisons because they're so weakened. So it is sort of like this light alternative to having to build up an entire 20 stack army to fight off another flank.
Yeah. Yeah, I just need to figure out where to recruit them because
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just trying to figure out in your economy where can you put that like tier. It's, it might be like a tier
or
2
3. Yeah.
military building, and just like, oh, I'll just need to put that in another province to recruit an extra type of that unit. There are a couple of weird outliers where, like, I know Beastmen, one of their technologies only unlocks if you have an army with 4 heroes in it, in addition to the Lord, which
Wow.
is a super weird, idea. It's like, I'm
Fringe.
going to go into a battle with 15 units and 5 characters, but I mean, obviously 5, Doom Bulls or whatever running around, like they do a ton of damage, so it works. But yeah, I think you don't want to sleep on heroes. I think you see the computer AI, like they have heroes all over the place.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sometimes surrounded by I'm like, oh no, I'm surrounded by 5 armies, and it's like, no,
those are all
it's
heroes.
2 armies and 3 heroes, and yeah,
And
yeah,
every hero has passive bonuses on the
yeah,
campaign map, right?
yeah.
Either control bonuses or penalties to the enemy. You can have some
Movement
guys that give you
range.
extra percent income,
Oh yeah,
uh, which is super nice, right? If you actually level it up, you could have, like, I think it's like
Yeah.
9% extra income in the province they're sitting in.
yeah.
Like those things
That's the
do add up.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about the campaign map heroes is that like you can you can build the assassin, the assault troops. I really blocking armies, the 2 times you ever use it strategically is
Oh,
great,
it
but
feels
otherwise
so good.
it's so good. But then like usually it's not all that relevant. But like yeah, just having the control bonus or the big one for me is especially playing like humans or empire or whatever is corruption. Getting rid of
Yep,
corruption
yep,
is
yep.
like vampire corruption in the empire is a fucking nightmare.
And that's the
Yes.
strategy part where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to move into their territory in a few turns. Let me send my hero there first and just have him sit there reducing the
Clearing
corruption for
corruption.
several turns before I move into the zone.
Yeah, that's
I
actually
also,
one of the really unique things about Oxyotl's campaign that I was really not noticing until this Friday's session was he can build like silent sanctums anywhere on the map, which are kind of like Skaven undercities.
yep,
Like they have
Interesting.
their own trees on other people's things. And at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna put one on Casey's capital, but it's not gonna buff Casey's troops. It's only gonna buff my troops, and I'm not gonna be fighting there
hmm
and you can only take one of them as a teleport location, which I haven't nominated because I don't. All the places I have them are close enough. But when I was gearing up to fight Techless, which we kind of ended on Friday, I put 2 silent sanctums in 2 different provinces of his, and built up like a bunch of like casualty replenishment and
yep,
like all those things and like I just laid waste to him when I moved in there because like my army got screwed up on a auto resolve and then it just healed up the next turn
yeah, because you
and it
you
was
you
yeah
preset the war that you wanted to have.
it was really fun and I
Yeah.
was like oh man I wish I had thought about that because like it took me a little while to understand what the point
Well,
of
I mean,
Oxyottl's campaign was at
but
all.
like
But
that's
now I'm just like, oh, that's really cool. You could be like, I need to go there. I'm gonna do a little pre-work
yeah,
to make it really nice and easy to teleport there and
like that's
kick
the
ass for a while.
that's the way that Skaven are supposed to play, right? Where you're putting
Yeah,
undercities in other places to get vision and get corruption
it,
started.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
All the
never mattered,
chaos,
as it?
yeah, but like all of the chaos, factions,
Oh yeah.
technically, like you should be sending your heroes into enemy territory to just spread corruption. So eventually, if you get it high enough, you'll start forcing attrition on them before you even have to
Yeah,
fight them.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Which is what Total War 2 did all the time with the Archeon campaign. Is
yes,
like Archeon would show up and you'd be like, "Well, I'm nowhere near him," and then all of a sudden you just have like
you just
5
start
different
picking
chaos
corruption.
heroes walking around just causing your chaos
Yeah,
corruption to go up and it was
which then
like
would
you'd
also
ignore
hurt your
it,
control.
you'd ignore it for a while and then be like, "Oh, this is awful."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Garrison's taking attrition and
Yep.
all it's doing is sitting there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of the interesting part of the game for me now is not just trying to square off my 20 stack army against theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's utilizing some of the global effects on the campaign
Yeah.
map to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
those fights a little bit,
Yeah.
easier for you because you're strategically planning ahead on
Yeah.
what buildings to put in, where to move your heroes around.
Yeah. Ooh, God, yeah. We just spent 45 minutes talking about these strategy. Yeah, and it's just like they're
It's a
just
strategy
so.
game, right?
It's yeah, but the
Yeah.
depths, like
Yeah,
building your civilization city isn't this hard,
Right.
and like
Right.
yeah, it's so and like the movement thing. I was like, if I'm gonna screw something up, like I've done so many things in the wrong order that it's so annoying, and there's just so
Yeah.
much to think about, and so it's like, oh, my hero's got another rank, and I'm gonna reduce recruitment cost, except for I just recruited, and that one's
Yep.
easy. I just go click on them and then re-recruit them, and now they're 10% cheaper or whatever.
Yep.
But like I move somewhere, just give me an undo button because I screwed it up somehow, and then let me remove so that I am in range or whatever. Yeah, there's such a couple times that I should be able to undo something that just misclicked or screwed me up, and especially in a multiplayer game where it's like it's not as easy as just reloading. It's like, okay, everybody fall out of the game, get a new code, jump in, reload. Everybody's potato is baking, and but
it's also, I mean, for those people that don't like save scumming, there are instances where if you exit out of the game and reload the turn, the same actions won't happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. You can tell that every single turn the AI is deciding what to do, and it doesn't always take the same actions, which is really interesting.
That's what I think allows a little bit of the replayability of like okay, like it's like, oh, I just started a Hellman campaign and I'm getting screwed by Karl Franz. If you replay that Hellman campaign, your objective to like take over Bretonia is still there, but it's like, oh, a different Empire faction is going to rise to power, and like, what's it? How is the campaign different when I'm fighting Franz versus versus Volkmar or something like that? Like
and like if you win a fight and get a magic item from the fight, if you reload and do it again, you won't get it.
Yeah, you get a
right?
different
It'll be a different thing, or you won't get one at all, or it is all
just
sort of randomized.
Re-rolling.
Yep.
So on to the battles. And this is
before we get into that, I think it is important to point out that of all that strategy talk we did do, we barely mentioned diplomacy. And while I do think Total War 3 is an improved diplomacy, I mean, hard to not be better than Total War 2's diplomacy system. It's still not that important. Like it is important. Like you can, you get too many wars on you. But again, with the difficulty of the game, which we'll talk about later, it doesn't really matter how many people are at war with you. And so like I do wish there was more that you could do with a little bit more flexibility, or I don't know, like flair or something with the diplomacy. It's very blocky. It works.
I think it's a very
great.
common issue with strategy games in general, right? You have to have diplomacy to make them work, but then you have to have an AI system that's capable of having sort of nuanced decision making, which it doesn't have, right? I mean, Civilization doesn't do it well either.
Which is a bigger offender.
Exactly. Because you can actually win the game pure diplomacy. But like once someone declares war on you, there's virtually no way to make peace unless
without kicking their ass into
unless
oblivion.
you are beating them so hard that they will obviously take a peace agreement from you. But why would you give it? You can just destroy them. There are not those. You can't sort of. You can ask someone to declare war on your enemy, and they can decline. But you can't be like, if you don't join me against them, they will kill you. Like you can't reason with the AI.
Which again, it's like, we're asking a lot to be able to say something like that or do something like that. But it's just it feels like there's probably something else they could add to it. Like again, the quick deal is fantastic.
Yes.
Quick deal diplomacy is fantastic, and we didn't have that in Total War 2. So that's an absolute win for the diplomacy system. But the fact that like it's impossible to trade a territory. Like it's impossible to trade territories with people. Unless it's, me giving Casey the territory.
Or if it's just generally a bad deal for you. Like you can give anybody a territory, they'll take it. But if
Yep.
you want one of theirs, it's really, really,
And
really difficult to do
and
it.
like the nebulousness of gifting, like
Yes.
so the only tool you have at your disposal to make something like someone like you more
Yes.
is to hand them money.
Give them
But you don't
money.
even
Yeah.
know what the payoff for that is for the long. I mean, we very rarely, if ever, gift the AI any money. You know,
Yeah.
almost never.
I've
And
tried it a few times just to
yeah,
try to see
yeah,
if I can sway
Beneficial.
people.
yeah.
It
But
does
like,
work. It just takes
yeah,
30 turns of, kind of wheeling and dealing to
I
try
think
to get
that's.
something to happen.
but
I
it's
mean,
frustrating though because the Empire campaign for Carl Franz has a system in
Yeah.
place for
Yes.
favor that
Yes.
shows you which elector counts like him and don't like him, and it goes up and down, and you have all these ways to do it. And it's just like they could literally have just ported that into a generic version for the diplomacy system, and it would be 50 times better than it currently is. Just
Sure.
let you do that with every lord. Now the problem is you could probably break the game in 10 minutes by just
Yep.
making everyone love you and confederating them. But like, so
Yeah.
obviously
Uh,
it's not that simple. But,
it's also harder in multiplayer because each faction is then pissing off different people in different
yeah,
ways.
Yeah.
Because when I played single player, like I had a spectacular Bretonian campaign where I used diplomacy, and like half of the board wouldn't attack me.
yeah,
And so I
Yeah.
didn't have to defend whole areas of my empire because there was just no way that anyone was going to come in because they were all allied with me.
yeah.
And so it was a really interesting way of winning the game because half of the places that I had to take over, I just allied them instead.
It's just
Yeah.
weird to me
Right.
because the complexity of the combat system with all the different stats and all of the
Yeah.
different numbers that you have available to you that we don't even understand to know the usefulness of a unit. How
Yeah.
can they not have similar things based off of your behavior? It's like they must. I mean, they clearly have some back end thing,
Yeah.
but like I should be able to go into the diplomacy screen and be like, okay, I'm Carl Franz, and I want to know how bad Vlad hates me right now. Oh, he hates me real bad, and the reasons why are these things. Like they kind of give you those nebulous like numbers in the attitude, right? Like when they
Yeah.
give you the attitude, but you have no way of knowing like how to change that, right? Like it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, they don't like that I have a trade deal with Casey. I don't need to trade with Casey right now, so I'm just going to end my trade deal with Casey, and I know that that will now make it possible for me to get, enough points to march my army through Vlad's territory without pissing him off, or something like that. And
Yeah.
it just
Well, I think, I mean, the game does do that. It's just not
right,
transparent in any way what
right,
the
Yeah.
effects are.
and but for a game that makes everything else like even
Yeah.
again like we don't understand a lot of it, but
Yeah.
it makes it all transparent for you. Like it should be like the diplomacy screen should be as complex as the stats screen for your army is.
Yeah.
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 But I guess developers take note, right?
Yeah.
Go
There you
build
Yeah,
a
go.
better diplomacy system.
Yeah. I
yeah,
will.
it
I
would be.
mean,
I don't even need much else out of it. I just need a little more information and a little bit more of a feeling that I understand what actions are causing what results.
Well, I think, yeah,
yeah.
you need a couple of choices other than just let me pay you money, right? There
Yes.
have to be
Yeah.
other things that you can do, events or something that can
Yeah.
cause diplomacy shifts so that you can actually feel like you are having a diplomatic effect on the game.
Yeah.
Because
I
you
mean,
certainly don't get that from attacking people, like right,
Yeah,
like if I go to war against someone that a guy that I'm trying to make like me more is at war with, it never seems to help. And
yeah,
yeah.
I'll like win the war for them, and they'll be like, "Yeah, we don't want to trade with you." Like,
right,
come on,
exactly, yeah. Like you just save their lives and they're just like, yeah, we're still
yeah,
going to be, mad at you or something. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it took me a while to learn that it even existed there. And I think it is at least relevant, maybe even just like early game, just like setting up who you're non-aggressive with and who you are, and
Yeah,
obviously breaking non-aggression packs and all that kind of stuff is pretty like relevant, especially when you're like building out. But yeah, I just think I think it's good to check it every once in a while, but it just takes way too long for anything to blossom that's out of it. Even
yep,
things like war coordination, like I don't
yep.
even know if it's working half the time.
Right. It
And
takes them
yeah,
maybe a couple of turns to actually say, yes, we're gonna mobilize against your your foe. Like they do it. It takes time.
often isn't. But
Yeah.
confederating people is like a big swing on the game.
Can be.
So
Yeah. If your faction can do it, and yeah,
support the army,
the economy.
getting land grab. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So on to battling the a little bit more micro way that we engage with this game. I have just here auto resolve because that's usually what you would do 90% of the time.
Yes.
Which I like didn't understand it until we played like a full campaign because like obviously you buy this game as someone who played Warhammer and you want to do the tabletop
Warhammer.
experience as much as you can. However, in a freaking 100 to 150 turn campaign, if you fought every battle, you wouldn't be here. You'd be here till the end times.
Yeah, you play one game a year.
Yeah. So
like there wouldn't be anything wrong with being like, we're gonna play this campaign for the short victory, but we have to fight every non-settlement battle,
Sure.
or
Mhm.
something like that. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. It's just
Yeah.
like I'm not straight up not as good at the as at the battle mode, and I feel like all the work you put into the campaign mode getting undone because George or I got sick of hitting pause during the fight and
Yeah.
got fucking rolled over.
Yeah.
Not exciting. You know.
Yeah.
But I do like the battles. Like, we've
Oh,
had
yeah.
some very fun battles, and like
Yeah.
especially when like, okay, yeah, we're playing very hard. Again, this is a difficulty discussion, but we're playing on very hard with normal battles. We should win every fucking battle we enter. Absolutely should, and we're not good enough to. Which means it's probably the right difficulty for us. But man, sometimes when you have those like, oh my god, this Pyrrhic victory is going to basically set me back, or this defeat is horrible for me. Let's see if we can win it, and then you win it, and you're like, it's a big victory.
It's a good feeling. Yeah. Well, that's what I kind of like developed the heuristic of like if it's close, then I could probably win. But however the auto resolve system works, it's like, did I screwed something like did I screw something up? Did I not put someone where they should have been? And then like all of a sudden this freaking close defeat turns into Pyrrhic or even like decisive. I'm just like, did I screw up or does auto resolve just a little wonky sometimes?
The auto resolve punishes you really hard if your units are not at full health.
Yeah.
Because it will just assume they'll die because they're not at full health, and it's like, yeah, but if they're injured, I would not put them in the front line, right? I would use them as a reserve troop, and they wouldn't die. It also punishes you if there's a settlement involved, right? Because the settlement fights favor the defender.
Yes.
And those types of things you do have to decide, like, oh, I should actually fight this out. And
yeah,
there's an inherent imbalance right now in the game where, like, go back to when John was playing with Ikit and Skaven, and I was playing with Morgar and the Beastmen. I fought actually quite a lot of fights manually.
He had to. Yeah.
Because a lot of times the auto resolve was like I'd lose 6 units or something, and then I'd go fight it out, and it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
But then, John didn't fight a single battle in the entire campaign because he didn't need to.
Yeah,
He would auto resolve every single one and win them.
Almost every single one of my fights was like a decisive victory too. My army was OP.
Yeah, it was gross. Yeah.
It was disgusting, but like it was. That was funny too. Like, going back to the long campaign victory, that was the other one. Remember, because I never got to use my nukes.
Tech.
Yeah, I had to use the nukes to get Ikit's lab built up, and since I never had a reason to do a battle, I never got to use them.
Mm.
But I guess I would say that there's a reason that there's a lot of auto resolving, and it's generally like, if you have a 20 stack army running around and you go up against an 8-unit garrison in a settlement, why would you fight that out? Like, you're just wasting 20 minutes of just micromanaging and bullshit to win something that's you're not going to even take much damage from that.
I'm starting to wonder if the blessing that we saw of the auto resolve fix, where it tells you what units will be killed outright, is actually a curse for the way we play the game.
I think
because
so. Yes.
you know, because it's interesting because it sucked before where you'd be like, all right, I'm gonna auto resolve this this Pyrrhic victory. Oh my god, I lost half my army to it. Let's save scum here, you know, and redo it. But like nowadays, where we're at with like the game is less challenging than it used to be, in my opinion, especially for where we're at.
Yeah.
And with us swallowing our pride and putting battles on normal while we're playing on very hard, going into something and seeing a Pyrrhic victory and not knowing if I'm going to lose 0 troops, 1 troop, or 10 troops, I'd just fight that Pyrrhic victory because I
Yeah.
should probably be able to at least get a Pyrrhic victory with 1 or 2 dead units at absolute worst, you know,
Yeah.
in that setup. Now, if I'm outnumbered and it's a decisive defeat, that's a different story. But you know, like, so I guess, Casey, you don't even know this. The auto resolve system used to not tell you what you were going to lose, just that
Oh.
whether you take
It would just tell you
low,
the total
medium,
result.
or heavy casualties.
Oh wow.
So, and so when they changed it, we were like, oh, that's so much better. It's so much better.
Yeah.
Saves you so much pain because, but like ultimately, I think I'd rather be at a point now where I'm like, I need some extra incentive to not just auto resolve something
Yes.
Yeah.
outright, and like maybe there's a mod to take that away or
Well,
whatever. But
because
like,
if you have a Pyrrhic victory with medium casualty, that could mean that all of your units take 50% damage, or it could
You
mean
lose
that
10 minutes. Yeah.
5 of your units just die outright
you,
and you take a bunch of damage, and that's a big difference on whether you're
yeah,
going to choose to do it or not.
yeah. Like again, we could house rule something and be like, if you're in an auto resolve situation and you will lose any units at all, you have to fight it. You know,
Sure.
so like, because like the decisive victories, you should never have to fight. It's stupid. Like it's
Yes.
just
Yeah.
Yes.
pointless.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
don't even get more XP for doing it. George
No.
and I
Yeah.
tested
Yeah.
that.
But
Yeah.
also, like
So
a 20 versus 8, like you're going to wipe the 8 and take so little damage that you're going to replenish it immediately. So it was just,
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
worth
Although
going and fighting.
But like it
usually
would, yeah,
it like we've almost got the house rule of like usually if you retreat and then get chased and then get retreat again, it's like, well, do I just auto resolve and lose the entire army? It's like, no, I have to fight that just to see like
well,
if we can eke out
sometimes
a
you,
win. Yeah.
Depending on how one-sided
yeah,
it is. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
sure.
like if,
Sure.
yeah.
If you
But
just
like
have no chance, there's no
if
chance.
you retreated because you're like, I probably don't want to fight this out. I'm gonna retreat and see if I can get away. Oh, I didn't get away. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna fight it. But if it's like 3 armies just pigpiled me and I retreated and
Yeah,
I
you're
didn't get
dead.
away, I'm dead.
You're
There's
dead.
no point in fighting this out.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess in terms of the battles, though, I will say they are very well done. Right. The
Yes.
Yeah.
maps are, at least they added all of the Total War 2 maps back into the game. So now there's a huge map variety.
Variety. Yeah.
The maps matter because terrain matters, right? Elevation matters in the fighting.
Yeah.
Water,
Oh yeah.
forests, all,
Just
all that
like
stuff is relevant to the
Yeah.
stats,
even
just like
stat stuff like vigor,
Yep.
I still don't even know that it's working or what it does, but
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
obviously it
Vigor
makes
is
sense that yeah.
vigor is still kind of ignorable, honestly.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
just one of those
Like,
things, like if you sprint across the map and it's a really long fight, your troops do become less effective. And so you're like, why am I not beating this unit? It's like, oh, because I'm completely exhausted and you're taking a bunch of penalties. And so like all of that stuff is happening in the background, which makes the fights, you can have some really epic fights.
Yeah.
Now
Especially on some of
for
the
those,
sieges.
yeah, like one thing that we don't do really is play the battles as a separate game type. Right, because you
Oh
can
sure.
not even play the campaign, and you can
yeah,
just
you can just
go
play Warhammer.
play
You know.
battles,
Yeah.
and
I'm
you
actually
pick
Yeah.
them.
surprised we don't, except for the fact that I wouldn't want to, even though you and I grew up playing Warhammer against each other almost exclusively,
Yeah.
like we had more fun playing two-on-two games, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah.
So like, I wouldn't want to do that with randos online who are just going to absolutely
Yes.
smoke us because
Yes.
that's what they do. Like
Yeah.
there are people who do not play campaign in Total
Correct.
War.
They
So
Wow.
if you're
just
going to do
play
a random
competitive battle.
spin in Total War, you're probably going to play someone who only plays
Yes.
plays versus battles because
Yeah.
there's a competitive ladder. You
Yes.
know.
Oh wow.
But it is, it's an interesting game mode where you can pick a point value and you put together a army list just like you would playing real Warhammer.
Yeah.
And then it just puts you onto a battlefield and you have to fight it out.
Casey, I would actually recommend for you, since you're pretty new to the game, at
Yeah.
some point on Twitch, take a look at a Warhammer stream and find there's a bunch of guys, like Anticity is one of them, like, and it's like Anticity, like
Yeah.
Ant City, but without it, who does tournaments, and he casts them, right? He does like commentary during them, and like 90% of it, you're like, I don't know what's going on. This is going too quick, but like it's because he can spectate cast it, he can zoom in on fights and stuff, so it's a lot more fun to watch the battles, and you can actually see like what kind of the meta of the game is. It doesn't translate to AI at all. It's why, again, a guy like Legend of Total War doesn't play competitively. He'd get his ass kicked. Like like it's just a completely different game. But it's fun to see it in that world, because it's like, you know, for the value of $60 buying the game, you actually do get two very different games for your money. You just opt not to play one of them at all.
Yeah. Well, that's and like the battles. There's obviously something deep. Like I just put rock paper scissors here. Like it's usually what it devolves into, but like, and I think there's a lot more kind of going on there. But at a base level, it is rock paper scissors. You have your you know, you click on a unit, you see the green, yellow, red of their units. You run you you pick the ones where you're green and charge it in, and then, you know, avoid the ones where you're red.
Yes. The difference is, and again, this is more for competitive style, but like your micromanagement changes the game completely. Like being able to cycle charge every 20 seconds, so you're maximizing your cavalry's charge bonus, right? Doing all this and getting all these people there and making sure your spells are going off and not. I mean, the amount of like non-care any of us have for our own units, when we, like, every time we're shooting into combats that are happening, we're killing our own units too.
Oh, sure.
We just don't even think about it or care about it. But it was like on Friday when George was like, that one dude didn't kill enough people for the casualties you took. I was like, yeah, I was shooting melee at the one dude that my 5 units were surrounding. As I was killing my own guys because I didn't care. It was funny, you know. But like, we basically play every army like a Skaven army, which back in the old Warhammer tabletop days were like, they had a special ability that let them shoot into combat because other units wouldn't be allowed to, because you would never shoot into combat and kill your own troops. Unless you were a psychopathic rat.
But no, I think
but it is worth watching those streams. They are very fun to watch.
There's a lot of cool, deep strategy when you're fighting. Because you said it's rock, paper, scissors on the surface. But then the whole point of playing out the battles is then figuring out, well, where can I push an advantage to turn that you know, uneven fight into a win for me. And whether that's flank charging with cavalry, using magic, you know, using your heroes with their active abilities to just pop off at the right time and, you know, boost armor or, you know, destroy
leadership.
And those are the really rewarding parts of the fights, where you're just like, you know, I should lose this engagement, but if I line up on the right part of the terrain, right, I flank charge with my, you know, my light cavalry at the right time, you know, then you can pull out the victories, and it's really satisfying.
And I really appreciate the like multiplayer aspect of it too, because it's like, if it was a 20 stack and I was controlling all of it, like each battle would take 45 minutes to an hour. But like, you know, and we kind of developed niches of like, you know, I basically just give John all my mounted stuff so he can go run behind their lines, and maybe there's a little bit of cheesiness with like confusing the AI, but also they should be confused if they've got freaking dogs behind the archer line. Like the archer line should be turning around to try and like deal with them.
If the AI does it to you, you'd have to turn around some of your units to deal with.
Yeah, we get flanked all the time by the AI.
yeah.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Never mind.
Yeah, and like managing wizards, like managing a leader and a wizard.
Yeah, one of the best parts of multiplayer in this game is the fact that when you go into a fight, the other players don't have to sit there and watch. They can actively be participants, because you can give them whichever units you want and let them freely manage that part of the fight for you. And it makes a huge battle very manageable, because now I'm only dealing with 8 units instead of 20.
One of the things I
really
would
fun.
like to get in one of our campaigns at some point that we have yet to ever really do, I think we only auto-resolved that came up for you and me, George, is my best 20 stack
Oh,
alongside George's best 20 stack
yeah,
fighting against the AI, so I can control my army and George can control his, and like
yeah.
having a big way. That might just be one of those ones that would be better for like just set battles. Like we each make a
Yes.
a base army and then fight 3 AI armies or something
Yeah.
alongside each other in a huge battle. That would be a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
like it never, because you're always just separated enough that you're never
Well,
really like I think
that
your
and
Lizard Man campaign that could happen in because you guys
yeah,
have been
but
fighting
also
alongside each other.
it's not very often that you need to have 40 units
Yeah.
to take a fight. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think in Total War 2, there were definitely more circumstances where that happened. Certainly when you're fighting Tomb Kings, it happens. Where you need more troops because they sit and turtle up with 20 stacks of skeletons.
Yeah.
Uh, but yes, you can support each other, but usually if you've supported each other with your best armies, like you're just gonna roll whatever you're fighting anyway, and it's just an auto resolve.
I did I kind of mentioned this in like some of the after talks after each session, like us coordinating to take out the stuff in between us in the Lizardfolk campaign was
Yep.
very rewarding.
Yes,
That
it
I
was
and I
fucking fun.
haven't gotten that.
Yeah. That's why when you're picking a campaign in a multiplayer situation, deciding which 2 characters to play or 3 characters,
Yeah.
it makes a huge difference to the quality of the campaign because
Yeah.
you could just start apart and try to get to each other later,
Yeah.
but starting nearby and being able to support against some of those early incursions,
Yeah.
it is a really cool way to actually play together.
Yeah.
And if later on, like if you actually are doing well, you might have that third army or something that you could just send into your teammates' territory and help them,
Yeah.
clear out a particularly difficult enemy.
Yeah.
But
Life.
I guess one other note on battles though, we're playing on normal most of the time. We
Yeah.
have played them on hard, and they definitely get hard. Uh, as you go up, the units get more stats against you.
Yeah.
And what I don't like is when you play on very hard battle, like goblins,
You
just
bounce off them.
total basic
Yeah.
bitch goblins are like unkillable from the front because they all have shields.
Yeah.
And like
I
it's just ridiculous when you're just like, I should be mopping the floor with these, and they're destroying me.
I do think that we should be probably after this campaign playing very hard, so hard battle
Sure.
I think so.
difficulty.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree.
But the very hard is where very hard and legendary difficulties are where you have to start cheesing the game to compete,
Mm.
and
Yes.
that's just not. I'm just not interested in that. Like I don't have like I think it's not like we're streaming this to
Uh,
an audience of people or anything. So
yeah.
not this we are. I mean like our games. So
Yeah.
I don't need to prove that I'm great at the game. I just want to have fun playing the game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I as George knows, you probably don't know as well. I love losing to games. I love getting
Sure.
my ass kicked by a hard game.
Sure.
So like I want the game to be challenging. I don't want the game to be unfair. I don't want to
Yeah.
have to cheat to beat the game
Yeah.
and or like lose army diversity. So it's like, okay, I can win this game if I only take 19 of one unit because it's the only real functional thing. I want to build
Yeah.
an
It's
army and play it like I'm playing Warhammer.
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's interesting when like for the response campaign where it was like, okay, I'm on the verge of death. It sucks being the third person who needs to be saved by the other two, but it's at least interesting that like, okay, we're 3 stack. We need to be able to like defend each other and save each
Yeah.
other. And like that response campaign was just like, okay, I'm basically down to one territory. If I lose it, we lose. So it's like, okay, now we need to mount a defense to defend that person. It's kind of where I feel like we're in that. I mean, I don't know. I feel maybe I'm short sighted, but like I feel I'm super gimped right now in the Gorok campaign, and so it's like, am I just going to be roaming around defending our territory while you guys expand and win? Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, particularly in that one, yes, you got too many wars declared by like pirates who kept hitting you on the coasts and stuff.
yeah,
and it spread you out to the point where you just can't defend everything, and you're constantly losing something, taking it back, losing something, taking it back.
Yeah.
Well, while that's happening to you, I mean, I have marched all the way up the north side of Lustria and have
Yeah.
taken over everything. In like 10 turns, I have doubled my territory.
Yeah.
Just doing my own thing, you
And
know.
you're
it's
just
all
teleporting
good, man.
away. Yeah.
Starting
like-
wars with Archaon, he'll never come bite us in the ass.
Like in that Lizard Man campaign, like I'm at a point where just like I am unkillable in it, and it's just a matter of playing out the turns to get to long victory.
I
Yeah.
didn't realize you had
Right.
gotten that powerful because I was hearing.
Oh my
Again, I
God.
wasn't even looking at Lustria since I wasn't there, and I had my own problems to deal with. So I was like, "Oh, it sounds like things are going really poorly for both George and Casey." Even though it was just Casey, but in my mind, I was like, "George, because your economy got so screwed over."
Oh my God. Yeah, but doing
through
that,
your own doing, through your own doing. But,
doing that though made me so strong
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
just kind of rode the negative income wave for a while. But I took so much territory that now I control, I don't even know, like 8, 10 provinces.
Yeah.
And I can afford everything that I have because I went negative with, some surplus. And it's actually making me think like I should do that in other campaigns.
Yeah, I was
Sure.
actually thinking not to like diverge into our specific campaign, but I was thinking about the next time I get one of those map teleports for Oxyotl, in Nagarond, I might go up there and start settling, so I
Yeah.
can like work my way down to Lustria and
Sure.
but like that, because like I'm not going to get attacked on the south coast anymore once
Correct.
Teclis is dead. No
Correct.
one's going there, so
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I assume there are other thoughts on difficulty.
Difficulty, yes. So difficulty in this game is in a weird place. And I attribute it to it being beta, and not because like beta means that the game's not done, right? In this case, it has all the game features, but because they have combined all of the content from Total War 1, Total War 2, and Total War 3 together, some of the systems don't align from the old factions, and they haven't done all of the work to plug in all of the tech trees, all of the characters, so that they actually know how to manage their own armies. And so there's a real issue in the difficulty right now where some faction starts are quite difficult and others are a complete joke. And it's hard to know, when you don't know when you're going into the game, like, is this going to be just super easy and I'm going to auto resolve literally every battle? Or is this going to be everything declares war on me in the first 10 turns of the game and I'm obliterated before I've even started? And both of those things seem to be possible in the game right now.
Yeah.
And there's not a more even curve of like, I'm playing on very hard. It should be very hard.
Yeah.
And the Hunts Marshal campaign. Oh
yeah,
my god.
I mean, this thing, we went from the Ikit Claw and Morgar campaign where John auto-resolved literally every battle he had, to then playing Hunts Marshal and Alberic de Bordelot, and within, I think it was like by turn 15, every single faction that was possible had declared war on John.
And like, but like, I think we abandoned the campaign and didn't lose it. But like, I was just dead. Like, I was just gonna lose that campaign in like 4 turns after all that went down. It was unbelievable. Then George is just down there with his thumb up his ass, like,
it's not dissimilar though to what's happening to Casey in the Lizardman campaign, where between I think it was the Awakened, right? The Dreadfleet came in, and Tyrion showed up, and there were still some like local
Vampire
factions,
Coast,
whatever it was, but there were like 3 or 4 completely unrelated factions who should be at war with each other, I might add. But they were all individually attacking different points of his coast, and it's like he can't possibly defend it all. And it's like that's sort of what happened with the Hunts Marshal. The difference was we were further along in the campaign when it happened, so there were more like choices to be able to defend against it here.
Or like Bellacor's starting position, right? Where not Bellacore, Undivided, Chaos Undivided. Like you just got humped in that campaign.
That Realms of Chaos campaign, it was one of the most unfair start positions I've ever seen.
Which yeah.
when we were playing Realms of Chaos.
Yeah.
But like it's um, the point of the difficulty setting is just supposed to be you have harder time controlling your own provinces,
Yep.
and the enemy has more economy so that they can attack you more consistently with full armies.
Yeah.
So it puts you on the back foot of having to defend against more attacks. It doesn't seem to be that consistently applied because some of the factions just they're not aggressive. They don't push
Yeah.
out. They just sit and wait for you to attack them.
Yeah.
And, you can just catch them in an ambush or something and just wipe them out. So they definitely need to do some work on, I guess, making some of the factions more aggressive. And as I understand it, the next patch is supposed to have some changes to the AI for that.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't read
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I don't know how far it will go, but they do notice that there is too much passivity on some of the factions.
Good.
Because
Yeah.
and part of it is
Oh God, you know
um,
what that's gonna mean for the first week of the
yeah,
patch.
when you play a new campaign, you just get obliterated by everybody. Part of the problem in the game right now is there are too many settlement fights.
Yeah.
Right. They changed the game between Total War 2 and Total War 3, where Total War 2, if you attacked a city, the battle would, unless the city had walls, the
Yeah.
battle would be outside. Now you
Interesting.
actually fight within the settlements if you attack a settlement.
Yeah.
And though that's interesting, the settlement fights are annoying because
They're
you have to
so
fight.
narrow.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to fight
Yeah.
these like narrow streets, and like you lose a lot of your advantages, as an offense going against their settlement because
Sure.
you have to
You're
deal with
funneled.
fences, towers, and all the bullshit. So
It brings up an interesting question too, because like Warhammer, like traditionally Warhammer 40K, every
yeah,
mission has your different deployment styles, which this game has. You
Yep.
set up
yes,
differently for different types of things,
yep,
and then it has obviously your different battlefield setup, and then different objectives. Some of the objectives can just be wipe out the other army. Some of them can be take and hold. Some of them can be retrieve. Like, why
yes,
don't like I would love that so much more if they had a couple. Like the city fights are fine occasionally.
Yes.
But then like field battles should be like random things. So like it could just be like take and hold this point, this central like shrine point, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
like
Those would be interesting to see.
yeah, it
Yeah,
would be like just having even if it was
Yeah.
literally just banner grabbing like they do for the city fights, but in
Yeah.
the open field, it would be far more interesting because like in those losing battles, you could still win on victory points,
yes,
Yes.
Like that would be a lot of fun.
Yep.
yeah.
Oh,
But
that's yeah.
there's also an issue right now where because the settlement fights are occasionally interesting, but most of the fights that you initiate in the game are to take settlements.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you either just sit and encircle them and wait for them to attrition out, or you actually have to go in and fight a settlement fight every single time you fight. And it's like, but I want to play an open field pitch battle, right?
Yeah.
So changing the AI up to be more aggressive would be sort of like Total War 2 was, where there would be more, open field battles because you would encounter the enemies in transition,
Yeah.
right? They would be moving around the battlefields more, looking for things to take, and
Yeah.
it should provide the opportunity to then attack raiding armies or ambushing armies or just armies that are trying to get to places so that you can have better variety of fights.
Yeah.
And I think the difficulty right now is not at a place where it allows you to do that. So everything is just an entrenched army sitting in a settlement, and you just siege them until they die. It's
Yeah.
like that's not as interesting as Total War 2 was.
Yeah.
Sure. Ooh. Okay. Anything else before final thoughts?
Who is because we were going to
Oh.
talk about
Oh yeah,
different
races.
legendary lords.
Yeah. Races.
I'm interested to hear your answers there, even though you might not have played enough, Casey, to have a full.
I mean,
there.
yeah. But I have favorite factions considering I played the tabletop game. So like, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I guess I'll start. I mean, like I said, I'm really liking Hellman. I assume he's gonna play. He plays a little bit different because he's more zombie focused. So I am interested in like doing a Vlad and Isabella campaign to see what that's like. I will definitely. I was trying to figure out who the wood elf is that just is all like bowmen. I assume it's the sisters. Um,
Sisters or Orion.
Yeah,
yeah,
Orion's more
wouldn't he be more
cavalry,
like
actually.
He's got cavalry.
cavalry? Yeah.
Yeah, he's more cavalry.
So I would be interested to play Orion, but yeah, I assume the sisters is going to be getting me like I want the Waystalkers and the Glade Guard and like
Yep.
all that kind of stuff. So
The sisters are awesome. Like
yeah,
I played them solo. Didn't we? I think I did a duo. No, I think I only played them solo.
You played them solo.
Yeah, because we did Orion
And Durthu.
and that was a great campaign. That was our first campaign, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, the sisters are awesome. The only problem about them is their voice acting is obnoxious after a while.
sure.
They're just constantly yelling at you and saying full sentences, not just like Orion just kind of goes rah 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 all the time, but you can kind of tune it out. But they're like always talking at you, and it's really
Sure.
annoying.
Yeah. Definitely. I beefed a dirt through campaign because I didn't know how. I was like halfway through and I was like, oh, I'll make my second army and it'll be all regular wood elves, and I was like, no, that's not what he does. So I might go back in to play that where it's just like all dreaming all the time. I don't know which of the empire. I mean, I have a 50% complete empire, in Tupperware bin somewhere, but I don't know which of the empire lords I will eventually want to play, and most. I assume I will find one soon. Always like vampires. Vampire Coast was never really a thing when I was playing tabletop, so I'm curious what they. I mean, other than they're like half empire, half vampires.
Vampires with guns.
We've never gotten
guns.
Vampire Coast is one. I think maybe that would be a fun trio one. Just 3 different vampires raiding coasts. But
Yeah.
like that's one that we've never. It's one of the few things we've never given a good shake to. We
Yeah.
had one campaign fall apart pretty quick on us, I think, and then we never went back to it. Like I was playing Silas Terror or whatever.
So that was a Total War 2 game.
Yeah.
I played Aranus Assault Spite, and like 3 turns into the game, the Chileans had like a 20 stack army sitting on top of a 15
Yeah, that's
garrison.
right. Yeah.
I'm just like, cool. I can't fight the first province I have to fight forever.
I might even suggest that we do trio pirates for our next campaign because I think they're wild enough that we could have fun. The only thing I don't know is in co-op if they kind of accidentally compete against each other for the notoriety or whatever that system is, but I don't think that really matters. So
Sure. Yeah, and that's another thing I haven't really engaged too much with is just like long trips over the ocean and like I don't know if there's island nations or anything like that. So
there's a few like that's what I was doing with Oxyotl last on Friday. It was just randomly. I was like, I see that thing on the map, so there's got to be something there.
Yeah.
So I want to know what's there. It's like, oh, it's high elves to kill. Okay.
Yeah. I didn't really enjoy Greasus, so I think I just might enjoy Scrag a little bit better. As far as concerned. And I enjoy at least enjoy the duality of lizard folk, where like I just always think of myself as the anvil and I have the thick sauruses that don't go down. I just don't have any skinks, and so I think that's a good situation, like John's describing, of like I'll have a 20 stack of sauruses, you have a 20 stack of like skinks, and then like playing that army out playing that battle out might be fun. And that's probably how I would approach greenskins, is like if we do a greenskin triple stack or something, I would definitely want to play one of the goblin lords.
Well, I think they do a good job in the game where within each faction there's usually different options for playstyle.
Yeah.
So, each faction has the caster lords and then the melee lords.
Yeah.
And so within each faction you should be able to find somebody that fits the playstyle you want.
Yeah.
So that you can experience each of the factions.
Yeah. And I usually I like I just like having the meat shield unit and then trying to maximize my range damage. I think that's usually how I'd want to play. So,
So I mean, even something like Cathay, right? I mean, their whole thing is yin and yang, where they're supposed to have a balanced army of
oh yeah,
melee troops and range troops, and so like
yeah,
it feels like a complete army.
yeah.
Um,
I just don't
and
find them interesting, and that's
sure,
that's
I mean,
like the downfall of that's the downfall. Like I love Bretonians, and like I have my fully painted Bretonian army that I love, but
yep.
like Knights on Knights just isn't interesting.
Yeah,
As
and
far
I
as,
think
I don't like Bretonians in Total War. I
uh,
really want to, but I just never have fun with them.
yeah,
yeah,
I guess I would say, I mean, I don't know what my like favorite factions are necessarily. Like, I'm
sure,
obviously a huge Bretonian fan. I also
yeah,
have my Bretonian army,
yeah,
but in the game, they are one of the least interesting armies because
yeah,
they don't have nearly as many troop choices
Yeah,
as some of the other factions do.
yeah.
yep,
They just have like knights to
Yeah,
do this job, knights to do that job,
yeah,
peasants. You know, it's like
yeah.
okay. Their
And even
heroes are
like,
cool as hell,
but their
but
heroes are only paladins and damsels. There's no other
yeah,
choices. Whereas other armies might have 5 different kinds of heroes,
yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
right?
Yeah,
They're just limited, and so like
yeah,
getting some DLC or something to expand their roster would be really
yeah,
cool.
yeah. I
And it
think
doesn't have to
yeah, I think
be a huge amount of things. Just adding a new hero to the army could be
yeah,
very interesting.
yeah,
I think Cathay has the same problem. They're
yeah,
new, but they are very missile focused, and their melee
mm,
troops are boring as hell. They have Jade Warriors, like peasant spearmen, and then the Eternal Guard. That's it.
yeah.
There's probably like 8 different missile troops and like 3 melee troops, and so they need to build out the unit roster a little bit more to be
yeah,
more flexible.
And that's why I've actually enjoyed unit diversity. I've really liked. I when we decided to do that, I was like, I need to do a caster lord because a I need to learn how to interact with magic in this game,
yep, yep,
and then b it was just like let's see how this plays differently, and it's different than like I would
It's
typically
very different.
make a vampire beat stick
Yeah,
go in and
because
eat
if
people.
you
Like,
go into a battle with a like Grimgore, you
yeah.
just click on the enemy lord and just send him to kill it,
yep, the scar
right? But
brand,
if
yeah,
yeah, if you have a caster lord, you can't do that.
no,
And now you've got to figure out, well, what's the best use for them? And it's usually, yeah, trying to wipe as many of the units using big blast spells or using the more
Yeah.
nuanced buffs to turn the tide for your good units. And it's just, yeah, it's a totally different play style.
I think for me, so Vlad, I love Vlad. I think
nice,
Vlad's great. His campaign is tough because you're surrounded. Even though it feels like you have mountains on on half of your border, you don't because the dwarves come out of them,
ah,
or Wurzag when your asshole partner starts a war with
Mm-hmm.
Wurzag, and he just relentlessly keeps coming and taking the same territory and dying. It's really annoying. He's great though. I really need to try Manfred. I'm just kind of sick of the Southlands right now.
sure,
Because like Manfred has a lot of the same things going for him that Vlad does, but change of scenery and in an equally challenging way. The problem is the thing I could be less interested in fighting out would be vampire counts versus Kemri. And that's a lot of what Manfred ends up fighting down there. And I'm just having it
oh,
just seems so boring to me. Um, that I just like that's just not because like neither of them really have missile troops. I mean Kemri
sure,
does, but
yeah,
like not very good missile troops and like the
yeah,
cavalry isn't really a thing. It just doesn't seem very fun. Um, I am really impressed with Oxyotl's campaign now that I know how it works, and
yeah,
I think that would be something I would recommend anyone try as a single player campaign,
sure,
because you can just kind of go anywhere and do anything and feel like you're accomplishing whatever you want. It's really cool. Um, it's a little useless for co-op though. I'm just kind of doing my thing in co-op, and
yeah,
it doesn't really matter.
yeah,
And then of course I thought the one good thing I can say about the pre Immortal Empires was Nakari when we had
mm,
that army going, and I had Nakari leveled up, and he could literally just like he was so fast. He could just like run around units to get to other things, and
yeah,
it was just like it was the only time I felt like I was in complete control of my unit's ability to move. Like,
yes,
and that whole army is fast, right? Like
yeah,
they fall apart instantly, but like the whole army was so maneuverable and so much fun to do actual battles with. that I really like. But then, of course, I'm an Empire lover. Like that's been my main army since I started playing, and they have the best unit diversity in the game, in my opinion. So like,
Mm.
they are a ton of fun to build an army up with. But they need more legendary lords. They have 3. Like they have 3, and like Volkmar is now different and fun. He used to be the exact same start as Karl Franz with none of the bells and whistles of Karl Franz.
Mm.
So it was just like, why would you ever play Volkmar? He wasn't even that good. Like he's not good in combat, and he buffed the worst unit in the army. So it was like, great. You could. So it's like, okay, do you want to play a caster or do you want to play Franz and basically just diplomacy your way through the Empire? And Franz is a lot of fun. I've never actually played Gelt as a legendary lord myself, but like he's a good caster, so he should be a fun Empire lord to play for variety.
Yeah.
But like that's all they've got. They're like the most important faction in the lore of like the lore of Warhammer is centered around them. You know, not like obviously chaos is the most important thing in Warhammer, but
It is a
like
weird thing because, like, obviously with Total War 3,
oh, they've got the Hunts Marshal too, but
yeah,
fuck him.
but you have all this space now where they've gotten past the launch,
Yeah.
they've got the beta out, they have to do some
Yeah.
balancing, fine. But presumably they're going to have a few years of additional DLC content coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's
Like
sort of, yeah,
like
like,
no surprise we're getting Chaos Dwarves, and that'll be fun because they're going to be very different.
Yeah.
but yeah, that'll be a new faction. And then, yeah, what other existing factions could use a refresh or
Yeah.
something new?
I
And
assume.
Empire is one of those ones where it's like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with them, but yeah, you could just pick a new or pick one of the smaller factions and give them a legendary lord, and then it would change the whole balance in the Empire.
Yeah, like Boris Todbringer could be a legendary lord. The only problem with the Empire that I assume is their biggest thing is that in they all start in the same area, you know, and
Yes.
that area is pretty crowded because they put some bad guys in there, which they desperately needed in there.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you bring Todbringer, he's literally 2 stops from Altdorf. Like,
Yes.
what's the fun in that? So, like, how do you make a, so that's why they did the Hunts Marshal where he is, right? And
Correct.
they made him a thing. But, like, again, like, I don't know. I was not a fan of, even when I played him single player and had, like, a successul campaign, it just wasn't very fun. Being in Lustria as a human sucks, and like,
Yeah.
you're using all the like the archers and stuff that aren't very exciting. Like you get better troops for him, but like it's just like for who the Lord is, the army just didn't feel right, you know. So like there's gotta be like what like Volton, right? Like Volton from the End Times campaign, who was like Sigmar reborn as a warrior priest. Make him like Gelt, right? He could start in the Chaos Wastes. You know, he could start actually at the Badlands is where he would start. But like you have a warrior priest legendary lord, you have Franz, you have a wizard legendary lord, and then you have the dumps marshal over there. Like that's perfect. That would be like the perfect spread for them. But I think we won't see that. I think what we'll see is 1 or 2 more Cathayan lords. Like they want to do the stuff that's unique to Warhammer 3, you know? Like they don't like I mean I guess technically they added chaos and they added chaos to the faction of chaos that existed from the first game.
Of course, but they needed more Chaos Rift stuff, and like they needed Southern Chaos as well.
Yeah,
and, like they needed more.
It sounds like Norse is probably early on the docket too, because they need an overhaul anyway. And everyone.
There are only 2 Norse Sky Lords.
Yeah, everyone talks about how they're going to add 2 more.
They're going to add at least the one at the Bastion and Cathay, because they've already teased the fact that there's a faction that constantly attacks the Bastion and needs a lord. And then they'll probably add, my guess is one of the DLCs will be that lord with a bit of a Norscan rework, and then they'll add another Cathayan lord to oppose them. Because that's usually the DLCs are you pick 2 different factions and have opposing lords in them.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And Cathay, I mean, they need, more in the territory that they've built.
It blows my mind that we have so many Lizardmen legendary lords.
Yeah, there's 7 of them.
Like I know, I guess in the 8th edition meta, they were like one of the most, and in Age of Sigmar, they're like the most powerful army. So
Hmm.
like the tournament people all buy them, but they were never that popular. You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
Lizardmen, they were the starting box that George and I started playing on. It was
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Bretonnians and
way
Lizardmen.
back.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was hilarious because we neither of us wanted to play Lizardmen. Like
Yeah.
we got those. I never built. I don't even know that I built those models. You know, because I
Yeah.
was like, oh man, I'm gonna play the Bretonnians, and George was like, I really like the Bretonnians too. I was like, you know what? I like the Empire more. I'm gonna buy Empire instead.
Hmm.
Yep. And we
So like we
never
never
touched the
did
Lizardman.
anything because those models also sucked way back then. Like they
Oh
were
sure.
not, So like it's weird to me that they have what
So they have 7. Yep.
seven legendary lords. Chaos, I understand them having that, especially when you add in
Uh,
demons.
well, yeah,
But
Chaos
like,
has 8 in the Warriors of Chaos now
yeah,
because they have to have 4 different ones,
yeah,
for each faction.
yeah.
Um,
But
but
like,
yeah,
how the
they
fuck
are
does
these single.
Empire have some of the fewest? Like,
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like High Elves have 6, Skaven have 6. I think that the
Undead should
Dark
have more
Elves have
too,
6.
because like
Yeah.
Undead have 4, but
Yep.
2 of them are basically identical. You know,
Yeah.
well, first of all, you got Vlad. Vlad doesn't really count as one.
He's
Yes.
Like, yeah, and then you've got Manfred, who I've never played through him, but I'm pretty sure he's
I mean,
kind of a clone.
yeah,
But now he's a little bit different. And then obviously Helman Gorst and
Heinrich Kemmler are very.
Heinrich are
Yeah.
different,
Yeah.
but similar. But like you could literally just put any. There's so many options there. You know, you could
Yeah.
have like a beast vampire to do.
Conrad. Even if you
Yeah,
just wanted another vampire, yeah, you get Conrad. But yeah, there definitely need to
Nagash.
be a ghoul. Yeah, a
Just
ghoul on a ghoul king. Ghoul king kind of legendary
just
lord.
put Nagash in
yeah,
Nagashazar.
yeah.
Yeah.
A Ghoul King. The Ghoul King would be cool as hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Or a
but
ghost.
like, yeah. Something to make you want to use the units that otherwise get ignored, right? You know, like that's kind of like what Draika does for Wood Elves, right? She
Yeah.
gives you options to play with. Yeah, I mean,
Our
granted,
best
George.
units. Yeah.
Yeah, George refused to use any of her units other than Dryads, but
Yeah, I only fight Tree Army,
yeah,
and
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I assume
Yeah,
there's. We haven't. I haven't played Skravens yet, but I just assume that there will be one of the 6. There's got to be a Skraven lord in there that I will enjoy. So.
yeah. Well, so, I
yeah,
mean,
it's
that's the
hard not
thing.
to. Yeah,
They all focus on different parts of the faction, and because the
Yes.
faction is so diverse,
Yes.
it's great.
Yeah.
I think the
I think I
Dark
remember that
Elves.
I think I remember that in tabletop. Like they
Yeah,
had like several different legendary
well, yeah. I
lords.
mean, they have assassins. They have the plague bearers. They have the technology guys with the guns. They've got the
Yes.
rat ogre mutant thing. Like
Yeah.
they have a bunch of different options. Uh, the Dark Elves are not that bad for diversity. Right? They have 5 or
Yeah.
6 lords.
I was gonna say there's probably a dark elf that I'll like. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, out of everything in the game, I think High Elves are the faction I like the least.
Sure.
They all feel exactly the same to me.
I'm curious what the diversity is with Beastmen because that's how. I mean.
So Beastmen, I mean, they've actually improved it quite a lot. But yeah, all 4 of the factions play the same.
Yeah.
The lords themselves are quite different.
Sure.
But the mechanics, like, it gets to the point where in Beastmen Army, you can actually use the dread mechanic, and you can recruit the other Beastmen legendary lords into your army, no matter
Oh
where they
wow.
are.
Very cool.
So, like, I had all 4 of the legendary lords in my campaign at the same time.
Interesting.
Yeah, so yeah, I think it's one of the only factions that can actually do that. But the dwarves kind of can, because the dwarves can confederate each other.
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess technically the greenskins.
I mean the Empire can too.
Yeah, it just depends, because like half the time you end up having to kill them instead because they're at war with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, that's the thing. It's actually really easy for Franz to confederate.
Yeah, but Balthazar Gelt.
What's his name? Gelt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if that's changed now with Volkmar moving, and
I
I've
mean,
never bothered caring about the Hunts Marshal, but I assume you could confederate him too as Franz.
yeah, but like greenskins, like Grimgor doesn't really. He can confederate tons of greenskin armies,
Yeah.
but he usually ends up at war with the big ones. and so
Yeah.
you get to
Yeah.
kill them off. But yeah, I think the high elves are just the least interesting because their unit
Yeah.
roster is like everything's a hybrid unit, and they don't have enough build diversity for me. I think the only really unique one for me is Imric, because he's all about dragons and he's off on his own.
I mean, what's her name? Alariel. Because you can get dryads.
Sure.
Not quite as exciting, I guess.
Yeah.
I have never committed to a long-term high elf campaign, and I don't think I have the same feelings about their army build that George does. We've talked about that a
Sure.
lot.
Yeah.
But George doesn't like hybrid units, and I do.
Yeah, I don't. Which is why I also don't do
yeah.
well with Kislev.
Oh,
'Cause they
Kislev.
also have a
Okay,
lot
yeah.
of they
Yeah.
also have a lot of hybrid units.
Kislev could use another action.
But yeah, I mean, having played
Yeah.
virtually every, I mean, I think I played every faction, but
Yeah.
like most of them, like the vast majority, are interesting. They all have unique, faction, mechanics. They all have cool lords. If you don't like one lord, you'd probably like another one. There's so much replayability in the game. Even having played an entire campaign through to the end, 200 turns long, I would still, I'd take a break from that faction probably, but I would still go back to it and play it again. They're fun, right?
Yeah.
Like I've beaten the game with, I don't know, Malekith, Durthu, and Lewin, and like I would play any of them again. Because they are fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah, we've never done a duo Dark Elf camp. No, we did one. Yeah, we did Marathi. No, you did Malekith, and I was the Hag Queen, right? It didn't last very long.
All right. I was gonna say, I don't remember that.
Yeah, no, it fell apart. But remember, because I was doing the, what's her name? Crone Hellebrand. Because she can spawn those Slanesh style armies, and that was like I was like kicking ass, and you got like eaten alive, and I couldn't get down to you, and then we abandoned the campaign, I think. But that's like the only time we've done a Dark Elf campaign together. Yeah, in Total War. Yeah. Sorry,
yeah. That back
that's
when
like the only
was
time
hard.
we've done Dark Elves together, I think.
Sure.
So that would be interesting at some point too.
Yeah. Cool. Let's. That was a pretty good final thoughts there, George. But yeah, what are was a thought? Yeah. What are your final thoughts on Total War Warhammer 3, John?
I think it is finally as good as the Total War 2 experience, if not much. I mean, it's way better. Sorry. Total War 3, when it came out, was worse than Total War 2, and that was disappointing. Now that Immortal Empires is out, we can forget all of that. It's fantastic. But it is a beta, and it's easy to forget that because it's totally functional as is. It needs to be harder. I don't think I could keep up the pace that I did in my excitement with Total War 2 with it not challenging us, because so many campaigns that we've played, and we haven't played that many, have just been auto-resolve fests for the last, two sessions of playing it, whether it's me and George. It was actually worse when George and I were doing it. Somehow adding you to the mix adds some level of challenge for us. I don't know
You have to
why.
teach the noob.
I'm not insinuating anything, Mr.
Teach the
Start
noob
a
how
war with Arcan the Black when you have no armies.
Yes.
But for whatever reason, George and I have just had too much ease with a lot of our campaigns, just ballooning very quickly. They might start difficult and then they balloon. So I really want to see that get more challenging, and I worry that that might be something that will have to really come from modding and not directly from CA. But it's so early to see, like, until there's a couple of, like, honestly, until an expansion comes out, I'm not going to worry too much about that, because that'll be when the big changes come in. But yeah, I'm so happy that we're finally back in a place where I look forward to playing Total War co-op campaign once a week, because it's great.
Yeah. George, your final thoughts?
I agree with John. I think, Total War 3 at launch was worse than Total War 2. Immortal Empires brings all of the improvements that Total War 3 did have and now finally has all the content, so you can really just have whatever experience you want to have, right? So
Yeah.
many factions and lore choices.
Yeah.
It really is just a huge sandbox to play in. And I think the biggest drawback to the game at the moment is the inconsistency in the challenge.
Sure.
You can certainly tweak, difficulty settings to get yourself into a place where you can have a challenging campaign.
Yeah.
But a lot of them do end up like it starts like pushing you, and then it gets really easy, and you just snowball. And then
Yeah.
maybe later on you start, pissing off somebody that you hadn't fought before, and they start trying to just like back in your empire, and it's whatever.
Yeah.
But they definitely need to do some patching on faction balance to just get it
Yeah.
more consistently challenging across the board.
Yeah, for sure.
But for anybody
Okay.
that hasn't played the game, like the ability to play campaign and then also get to fight battles with Warhammer,
Yeah.
the battles are really impressive.
Yeah.
And I just think in the way the challenge is set up right now, you don't have to fight that many of them, which is kind of a shame because they
Yeah.
are really exciting to play when you're, you know, in a quote fair fight that you're supposed to lose, and then you turn that into a win.
Yeah.
It's hard to find those moments, but 'cause if they just like ambush you and you just get killed, you can't fight your way out of that very easily. Uh, but there's a lot of game opportunity there in different campaigns to really find
Yeah.
some really fun pitched battles. Uh, so it's a really good strategy game. Lots of variety. Really impressive culmination of 3 different games all coming together to make something really, really
Yeah.
special.
Yeah. I'll echo a bit like what you guys said. Like, there's a lot of content in this game, and for someone who like really engaged with the IP and loves it very much, like just looking at the Immortal Empires map is just mind blowing. That over the course of freaking 6 years, they managed to make just a freaking massive girth of content.
Yeah.
There's also a little bit of a cost specifically to your wallet associated with that. So like, I've already, I've invested buying the first and second game at 75% off or something like that, and then the third game at full price, and I still don't have a third of the content. I think it's all
Wow.
nitpicky, like
Yeah.
$10 to Lord purchase stuff. So like there is definitely an uphill battle as far as content's concerned, and if we're talking about just buying Warhammer 3, like that might not be the most fun experience.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a little bit of a limitation on that. But I mean, I'm always going to invest. I think if you did it kind of piecemeal, like I'm planning on doing it, like you pay one campaign, it takes you a month, and then you spend $10, you get a new lord, you pay another campaign, and it's like you slowly trickle in until you have it all, which is a cool and unique way to play. As far as the gameplay is concerned, it's funny that I think I often try and put things in boxes, and so like I usually don't like 4X games, and so like running around and campaign managing and like managing different things like that. This isn't a 4X game because it has that like battle system, which makes it very fun and unique and adds another layer of the game and makes it just a more unique experience, and which is why I think the Total War series, having only ever played this one, I think is just kind of in its own little genre there, its own little niche. I really and yeah, like I said, huge fan of the IP. So vampires or Bretonian or Empire, or any other different factions that I either never got to put on the tabletop but wanted to or played several times. It's just awesome, and I think I didn't see all of the ways that the game was improved. So all I've done is entered in and like the different victory conditions is like really cool and in depth, and there's just so much deep strategy that is a massive learning curve, that you probably that I don't not that few have mastered, but I think it's interesting to kind of learn piecemeal gameplay. So overall, yeah, I think there's a massive investment to get you into it, but I think it's really worth it if you're a strategy gamer.
And I would echo in that each campaign that you do, if you actually play it out to a long victory, I mean, you're looking at, I don't know, 30, 40 hours.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, you might spend $10 on a DLC, but you get 2 lords in it, and each one of those is going to be 30 or 40 hours of content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never once felt. I honestly don't know. I think it was like 125, 150 range when I bought in.
Total War 2,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just bought everything at once, and then another whatever was 60 for Total War 3, and then however much the
2
Chaos
DLCs or
campaign
something.
was.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
between
like-
Total War 2 and Total War 3, I'm probably sitting at around 700 hours played.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. It's like
Like,
very few games. I mean, as a pretty casual video gamer in general, no game in my Steam library, with the exception of Blood Bowl, has anywhere close to the hours played of that.
Yeah.
Like even like Risk of Rain 2, which we were also like, or me more so than you, were like just grinding for hourly sessions until the sun came up on night, is half as much as Total War 3, and that's not even counting Total War 2.
Yeah.
No, actually, no, it's even with Total War 3. 20 hours less. But then
Yeah.
Total War 2 is another 280 hours on top of that. Like,
Yep.
and like that's a lot. I mean, it's a lot of time for someone who doesn't play a ton of video games to have in a game that he's only been playing for a year and a half.
Yeah. So yes, there is value for the money.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, tons of value, and the co-op experience and chef's kiss.
Yep.
And then like I said too, there's a whole other game that we haven't even played, in there.
Which
If
is
you
just
the
the
battles.
if you want
tabletop
it to be
battles,
more
yeah.
competitive, you can just do competitive battles, and
Yeah.
that just might. I mean, that's easily worth the base cost of the game, for the current run of factions,
Sure.
if you're
Yeah.
into those kind of things.
Oh, well, that was quite a talk. Probably our longest Friend Zone episode ever.
It's
But
a huge game.
it's a massive game, and there's a lot to talk about, especially when you're coming into it for the first time like I am. So thank you, friends, for sitting down and talking with us. We'll continue to play it till the cows come home. But yeah, very much looking forward to that. But thanks for sitting down and talking with me today.
Cool.
You got it.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Perfect. And as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you do, follow, like, and subscribe to me on YouTube and Twitch to see more great content like this. I'll have links down below in the description. Thanks again. I hope you have a super day. I hope you have a super month. And I hope you have a super day. Bye!